You're listening to the Shake and Wake Radio Network, where the truth is all that matters, and the truth will make you free. Will make you free. Will make you free. Will make you free. ShakeandWakeRadio.com. ShakeRadio.com. Shake and Wake Radio. We're on a mission from God. You're listening to the Shake and Wake Radio Network, where the truth is all that matters, and the truth will make you free. Will make you free. Will make you free. Will make you free.
They're not going to catch us. We're on a mission from God.
We're on a mission from God. Man, you gotta understand that this is a lot bigger than any domestic problems you might be experiencing.
Ma'am, would it make you feel any better if you knew that what we're asking Matthew to do is a holy thing?
You see, we're on a mission from God.
We're 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses.
Hit it.
You're listening to the Shake and Wake Radio Network, where the truth is all that matters, and the truth will make you free. Will make you free. Will make you free. Will make you free. ShakeandWakeRadio.com. We're on a mission from God.
Doctor, my eyes have seen the years and the slow parade of fears without crying. Now I want to understand. I have done all that I could to see the evil and the good without hiding. You must help me if you can. Doctor, my eyes, tell me what is wrong. Was I unwise to leave them open for so long?
And now, Crooked Doctors with Lydia Raymond.
Thank you, Annie, for that introduction. Today is Friday, January 23rd, 2015, and the name of the show is Crooked Doctors, and I wanted to thank Rick for correcting me. When I say this is Crooked Doctors at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University, that does not mean that I'm broadcasting from Yeshiva University. That means that I am exposing the facts that show criminal conduct by Yeshiva University and its Crooked Doctors at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University. And this is life-saving information to pre-meds. Had any one of the victims of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University, or any of the victims of Yeshiva University, gone out in the public forum and exposed the facts, it's highly likely that that information would have gotten to me as a pre-med at Columbia University. In fact, there's a strategy that I'm pursuing that I reviewed with an officer who had been a commissioned officer with the United States Army for 15 years, wherein, and this is a multi-pronged approach, but wherein the pre-meds at the pre-med advisor at Columbia University and the pre-med advisor at New York University and the pre-med advisor at City University of New York, CUNY, where all the pre-med advisor at Rutgers in New Jersey, they all have a duty, a legal responsibility to give this information to their pre-meds. And if they do not, and one of those, the pre-med advisors at West Point Military Academy also have the pre-med advisors at the U.S. Air Force Academy at Colorado Springs, Colorado. Also, Mr. Mikey Weinstein of Military Religious Freedom Foundation. They all have a responsibility to give this information to pre-meds. And if they do not, if the pre-med advisor at Columbia University, for example, does not give this information to the pre-meds, then in the scope of that advising relationship, then if a pre-med were to attend the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University and be harmed, they would not just sue Yeshiva University, they would also sue their undergraduate college for not giving them this information. And they would ask the question, why are the pre-med advisors at major universities not giving this information to their pre-meds so that they could conspire with Yeshiva University to take advantage of the ignorance of pre-meds? So I'm not broadcasting from Yeshiva University. I'm broadcasting from Shake and Wake Radio with Rick and Annie. It looks like we have Jason Berg from Jersey City. Jason, you want to say hello? Hello?
Hi, I'm sorry. I had my mic muted. Hi, how you doing there, Lydia and fellow hosts? Thank you very much for another opportunity to wake up our people that they are being policed by our wonderful government. Thank you.
To your testament, Lydia, I'd like to say that you expose a lot more than just crooked doctors. You know, you're more about empower yourself with legal knowledge.
Oh, well, thanks, Rick. That's very sweet of you to say. I appreciate that.
Take your power back. Give me back my bullets. Put them back where they belong. Ain't fooling around 'cause I done had my fun. Ain't gonna see no more damage done. Give me back my bullets. Take back your power, people. Check out Lydia Radin and John Darash, National Liberty Alliance, Jason Berg, all the great stuff we got going on Shake and Wake Radio. I'm out of here. Take it over, Lydia.
No, I appreciate that, Rick. Thank you. Rick always gives me some very good constructive feedback. So I wanted to thank you for the constructive feedback. We're not broadcasting from Yeshiva University. Yeshiva University and the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University are dangerous to others. They are a clear and present danger, and they should be avoided at all costs and criminally prosecuted. Now, Jason, I think you're going to enjoy today's show because, and I think...
What's that?
No, I think you're really going to enjoy it. If you have the caller who wants to call in and ask me a couple questions to pick my brain, I'd be happy to do it in the next 2 hours. But you're going to enjoy this show, and I'll tell you why. So will the National Liberty Alliance, because I just opened a door for them. Here's the door that all of us cooperating in Brooklyn, we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and we seized it. And we created an opportunity for National Liberty Alliance. Now, let me just give you, you can go, for the listening audience, you can go to John Darash's website. That would be nationalliberyalliance.org. And on that website, you're going to find all kinds of very good information about establishing common law grand juries in your community. Now, John Darash was given a hard time by the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and a whole lot of other government agencies and people, because they're like, well, what do you need a common law grand jury for? Because, as the three of us have demonstrated this past week, and we provided affidavits to the Senate Judiciary Committee, what we are, and this is why we're making history. You're going to like this, Jason. Right here, right now, we're making history. The U.S. Attorney here in the Eastern District of New York is Loretta Lynch. Now, Loretta Lynch has been nominated to become the next U.S. Attorney General, the chief law enforcement officer in America. And she's quoted in the news media, in the Amsterdam Times specifically, as saying, and I'm just going to paraphrase her direct quote here, Although I do have it and I could quote her directly, but just for now. She's paraphrased as saying, if she were to assume this important post, she goes to sleep every night, or all she thinks about is how she can protect the American people. Well, that's a bunch of hogwash. Because here's what her office, and I was questioned by a law enforcement officer. He's like, "Are you out to get Loretta Lynch?" Heck no. I wish Loretta Lynch would suck it up and do the right thing and prosecute Yeshiva University and prosecute Dan Rozelle of Sive, Paget, and Rozelle for their crimes. I'd like to be Loretta Lynch's biggest fan and supporter and say, hey, she did right by me. I'm, very pleasantly surprised, and what can I do to help her? Unfortunately, that's not the case. So Loretta Lynch is being nominated to become the next U.S. Attorney General. And by the way, she still has time to fix this if she wants to. She's being nominated to be the next U.S. Attorney General, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer in the United States of America. This is going to take me a little bit to set up, Jason, and then I'll get your feedback because you're really going to love this because it involves the mayor.
If that's the case, Lydia, you don't get to be the Attorney General of the United States unless you're like in some secret society. So there is no way she is going to do the right thing.
Wait. Yeah, but she's between a rock and a hard place because the key word there, Rick, is secret society. We don't want you to know what's going on, except that we expose them, and now everybody knows what's going on, so there's no way to hide. So, keyword secret ain't working now. So Loretta Lynch is nominated to be the next U.S. Attorney General as Eric Holder leaves that post for a big banking job, I understand. We'll get to that later. And she's got to go through the Senate Judiciary Committee and be vetted. The Senate Judiciary Committee will be having open public hearings in Washington next week on Wednesday and Thursday. Oh, guess what? We have affidavits that we sent to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and I have, yes I do, hard evidence that shows the Senate Judiciary Committee has no plausible deniability. So they're going to have to deal with the fact that this would be Senator Grassley's office. This does involve Jersey because we got to the U.S. Attorney's office. That would be Paul Fishman's office. You remember this, Jason, because I caught the U.S. Attorney in Newark lying, and they claimed that me and Patricia Waiters never went there, and I got the videotape that shows we went there. So around 2012, me and Patricia Waiters went down to the U.S. Attorney's office, and we spoke to Constance Jones, a paralegal in the Civil Rights Division. I got the videotape that shows we were there, and I'm putting some of the litigation points for Patricia Waiters on the record. And and you can see this, by the way, if you're out there in the listening audience, you can go to the Crooked Doctors videos that I archived on YouTube, and type in Constance Jones. Or I think Jason and I did a whole show about this. Do you remember the whole show we did about this, Jason?
Yes, it was very, very exciting that how you went in and they denied you ever were there. I love it.
So what we did is we go to talk to Constance Jones, and she says, "Listen, we're real busy. We're at trial. Could you guys come back in about 2 weeks?" We're like, "Sure. Just tell us what we need to do to help you." 2 weeks go by. We never hear from them. Months go by. We never hear from them. So me, Patricia Waiters, and Paul Brewer jump into Paul's car, drive down to Washington, and while Patricia Waiters is being illegally blocked from entering the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington by security guards. This is illegal. Okay, every citizen should be able to walk into the U.S. Attorney's Office and make a complaint and have that complaint be responded to. This is our government. So she's being kept out on the sidewalk. So while she's making phone calls and dealing with this, me and Paul Brewer go and we visit Congressman Micah's office. And we sat down, and I really want to thank the Chief of Staff at Congressman Micah's office. That would be Wiley Deck, because he was really pressured for time on that day. he was trying to get to a conference call, and he literally had minutes. He was counting the seconds that he had to get on this conference call, but he very generously and graciously made time for an impromptu meeting. I want to thank him very much. Congressman Micah and Wiley Deck are really working very hard and doing the best they can. And then we walked over to Senator Grassley's office. That would be Senator Charles Grassley. And I sat down with 3 investigators from his office. And, oh, yes, I do have the videotape to prove that we were there. And then we got in our cars and went home. And what we heard from, and I'm just setting this up by way of what's going to happen next, when we got home, the Washington office said, you just can't come down here and talk to us. You have to deal with your local office. And we said, we did deal with our local office. That would be the U.S. Attorney, Paul Fishman's office in Newark. And the Washington office said, really? Because that office says you were never there. No kidding. The federal prosecutor, the U.S. Attorney, Paul Fishman, says we were never there. Here's the videotape that shows we were there. So the question now is, how is the U.S. Attorney in Newark going to prosecute criminals like those in the mafia or organized crime? And, I'm going to do a little homage to Eugene Warwick. How the mafia may or may not exist, but there you go, Gene. But how can they prosecute criminals when they themselves are liars? And here's what I never got a chance to tell you, Jason. There's an attorney called Scott McBride. He was hired by Governor Christie when Governor Christie was the federal prosecutor. When I first went down to the U.S. Attorney's office, I put my papers through the front desk. And as I'm coming out, I pretty much get the feeling that, you know what, they're going to take my paperwork and throw it in the trash. So to protect myself, in waltzes into my elevator a gentleman named Mr. Scott McBride. And I say to him, pardon me, are you a U.S. attorney? He's like, yes. I'm sort of paraphrasing here. I'm like, do you know Chris Christie, the federal prosecutor? He's like, Mr. Christie hired me. I'm like, oh, terrific. Here's some paperwork. Please make sure that that Mr. Christie gets this paperwork. And if he doesn't, I'm going to hear about it. So Mr. Scott McBride I ran into 5 years later, only he doesn't know. And so there's a number of different ways I was giving information to the federal prosecutor. Now, in 2009, Mr. Christie left the federal prosecutor's office and became governor, as we all know, and handed to Paul Fishman an investigation on Yeshiva University into money laundering. So if Paul Fishman had done his job, and if the FBI had done their job, although you really can't blame them too much because the FBI is controlled by the U.S. Prosecutor's Office, but had they done their job in 2009, I never would have gone to prison in 2010. So now they're all squirming uncomfortably. So what we got is one U.S. prosecutor who's lying to cover up for Dan Rizal. Jason, is that you? Because I can hear water pouring.
Sorry. I was just pouring some water. Sorry.
That's okay. So what we got is we got the U.S. Attorney Paul Fishman, his office is lying. They know because I make follow-up phone calls.
Well, let me interject. You have done everything to their specifications. They deny culpability. What is an average Joe to do when they're confronted by this their unalienable rights and their sovereignty being violated?
That is a very good question. So thank you for asking it, Jason. It's actually very insightful because what we did is Loretta Lynch now is up for promotion, right? She's the U.S. attorney here in the Eastern District of New York, and she wants to become the next U.S. Attorney General, and the Democratic Party wants to make history. Loretta Lynch is a black woman, and they want her to be the first black woman who's the U.S. Attorney General. I'm sure they're defaming me as claiming I'm some sort of racist. I would be very happy to support Loretta Lynch's nomination if she'd be willing to do the right thing. And in fact, let
me just say the right thing. This is not an issue of black and white. Again, about what is right and wrong. And remember, you talk about organized crime. The biggest organized crime family in the United States is Washington, D.C. 10 miles square of retards. Back to you.
Yeah, so what the average Joe does, Jason, is we went to the Senate Judiciary Committee. So next week on Wednesday and Thursday, Loretta Lynch is going to have to face questions by the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, literally 45 minutes or less before this show aired, I was on the phone with an attorney from the Senate Judiciary Committee. I'm going to read to you the information that she has, okay? And then you can comment on it if you want. So the Senate Judiciary Committee has no plausible deniability. They knew about all of this before I was subjected to the crime of false imprisonment. I just want to say this about FBI agent James Eagle Eye and FBI agent Maureen Costello. FBI agent James Eagle Eye has irrefutable evidence in his hands that I was subjected to the crime of false imprisonment in Jersey City. Because what those medical records, I got my medical records, and these are not bona fide medical records. This is wholesale fraud. I put them into the hands of the FBI. And I also made sure that I got them so that they couldn't change them. Now, nowhere in those medical records, just one second, nowhere in those medical records do you see a sign, does James Eagle Eye, does the FBI or the U.S. Attorney's Office see a signed court order. So that means that Dr. Vladimir Jelnov and his colleagues at Jersey City Medical Center subjected me to the crime of false imprisonment. Now, I don't have to prove anything. They have to prove that they had some lawful basis to interfere with my liberty. So in order to hold me as a prisoner in their locked psychiatric ward, and the reason why they're doing this is because they're desperate to discredit me as a witness against Yeshiva University and Dan Rizal, a former federal prosecutor. You got Dan Rizal, a former federal prosecutor who's pulling every string in the world to have other U.S. attorneys, other federal prosecutors lie, cover up, sandbag, put up blockades, because Dan Rizal is dishonest and I caught him in crimes. So the U.S. Attorney's Office protects its own. So
what crime did he commit?
Dan Rizal represented Yeshiva University, and he went into court with John, it was his law firm of Sive, Paget, and Rizal that went into court in 2006, for example, and I was named as a witness in another student's case, and John Scarfone, the Associate General Counsel for Yeshiva University, went into court, and in a sworn reply affidavit, they were trying to discredit me as a witness, claimed that Lydia Radin failed all her classes as a first-year medical school student except for one class, Todd Olson's anatomy class. So they executed a fraud upon the court. They knew that they were swearing falsely because my passing grades were provided to Todd Olson, Jimmy David, the promotions committee, Janice Bennett. They knew they were lying. They knew that I did not fail all my classes as a first-year medical school student. My professor from medical school, who was the small group leader, had to give a stipulation in 2010. So that's 4 years later. My professor had, who was a small group leader in Introduction to Clinical Medicine, had to give a stipulation during the farce of my criminal trial to say, nah, she didn't fail my class. That would be Introduction to Clinical Medicine. It's about a year-long class. It's got modules A, B, C, D, and E. So I had to actually have a stipulation from my professor. Hang on for just 1 second here, where he had to stipulate in court that no, she didn't fail my class, and I had to take that hold on just 1 second. I had to take that Dr. Stephen Blau, and this is on page 368 of my criminal trial transcript. I actually have my criminal trial transcript on email, and I can email it to anybody who needs to discredit the school. But I have Dr. Stephen Blau saying Lydia Radin did not fail his ICM class. That's Introduction to Clinical Medicine. In fact, they are so desperate to falsify my educational records that there's one ICM module. So ICM is a class that goes for about a year. It's module A, B, C, D, and E. One of the modules is epidemiology and introduction. Epidemiology is basically medical statistics and ethics. And medical statistics I passed with a high pass. I think I got 85 out of 100. And so they didn't list that class on my transcript because they didn't want me high passing any classes, so they falsified my educational records. I got honors on my ethics paper. I had to write, I could have taken a test or written a paper. It was considered more difficult to write the paper, so I wrote the paper. It was under 1,000 words. I remember it. I could actually reconstruct it if I had to, and spoke about it in depth and detail to a dishonest attorney here in Brooklyn. That would be Lisa George. So they actually omitted one of the modules from Introduction to Clinical Medicine on my transcript. So my transcript is inaccurate. In fact, my transcript contains false statements of material fact, which is a violation of the law of some of the city rules. I believe it's under the educational title in the compendium of the codes, rules, and regulations of the state of New York. It's against the law. It's against the law for a school to maintain false transcripts. I have the right to access and correct my transcript. So what did they do? They went into court and they swore falsely, which, by the way, happens to be, and this is important information. Everybody write this down because one of our NLA members is using it. This is important, life-saving information. Let me just get my notes because I want to make sure I cite it correctly. Hang on. Oh, by the way, this was used most recently against Sheldon Silver, but when he was arrested yesterday. He's the Speaker of the New York Assembly, but I don't want to go down that road. Right here, when the attorneys go into court in New York, and I'm sure there's directly analogous statutes in New Jersey, but in New York it's a violation of New York penal law, section 175.30, which means they are offering a false instrument for filing in the second degree. So that means when the attorneys go into court and they file something and they know that paper contains they're aware, they're knowingly, willfully, intentionally, that all speaks to criminal intent. When they knowingly file a paper that has a false statement or contains false information, that's a crime. You're not supposed to go into court and say, well, make a bunch of false statements and then I'll fool the judge. Their job is to, they're supposed to help the judge by giving the judge full, true, and complete information. Not to go and make a false court record and then get a judgment because they managed to deceive the judge. So they lied, they swore falsely, they executed a fraud upon the court, they violated New York penal law. They went into court and they lied. So I'll just speak in the vernacular. They lied. Dan Rizal.
Well, again, what year did they? When did this come together? What year was this transition or this transaction that they lied and everything? And
well, Dan Rizal, going back a little bit in history, in 2004 I filed my 2004 I filed my federal complaint, and then Dan Rizal went into oral argument in front of Judge Patterson and claimed I got 2 hearings. I didn't. 2005, 2006.
There weren't even hearings. There weren't even hearings because you weren't even allowed to even see your accusers, which violates your Sixth Amendment right to be able to know who your accusers are and listen.
There were no hearings at the medical school. It's a violation of due process. They claimed there were 2 hearings. There weren't. They lied about that. Martin Bachstein lied. The promotions committee knows what it's doing is wrong. The faculty handbook provides, I believe, last time I checked, provides hearings for the professors. Professors would never allow this to happen to them. But the important thing is 2005, 2006, I'm named as a witness in other students' cases to show that this is a pattern and a practice, an established policy of violating the due process rights, the constitutionally protected right under the Fifth and Sixth Amendment, to a hearing before anything's taken from you. They know what they're doing is wrong. The medical profession knows what it's doing is wrong. Interns and residents have some marginal protection because they're employees. They kind of get a paycheck while they're they get a paycheck from the hospitals while they're apprentices in training. The faculty has, their faculty handbook. They wouldn't dare have anything like this happen to the attending physicians or the faculty. But the medical profession is well aware that medical students are the most vulnerable people. And I actually discussed this with Columbia University Medical School and with Mount Sinai. And they all know that the procedures for medical school students are fatally flawed. There's never been a fair hearing for a medical school student in the state of New York since the dawn of time. All their published policies are fatally flawed. They violate the spirit as well as the letter of the law. They're all well aware of this. I discussed this with, and I've said this before, I discussed this with when Andrew Cuomo was New York State Attorney General. I discussed this with, there was Ben Lawsky, who was a top, I think he was like the third in command, top lawyer, and also Mel Goldberg. So there's no plausible deniability. But I want to get back to, what do you do when you're being, persecuted through life like I am? Well, we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I want to talk about a little bit about how John Darash has a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, because what I did is I went to Loretta Lynch's office, got the bum's rush. Oh, yes, we do have the videotapes and the audio tapes, and most recently I've got 2 affidavits from witnesses who came with me. Those affidavits were submitted to the Senate Judiciary Committee. The Senate Judiciary Committee knows that when I went to visit them during the Sonia Sotomayor hearings, that Sonia Sotomayor is one of 36 federal judges. You know what? The easiest thing for me to do is, I was asked to send an email, so I did. Let me read you this little bit of email because it gets through a lot of material very quickly. And now Loretta Lynch is going to have her feet held to the fire, and she has to answer this. She's actually changed, the procedures at the U.S. Attorney's Office were actually changed to make it even harder for a crime victim to get assistance from the U.S. Attorney's Office. So me and members of our little dedicated group of soldiers here went to the Federal District Courthouse here in the Eastern District of New York, and on the 5th floor you'll find the grand jury. You can actually go there. Jason, you should go to your federal courthouse in Newark and look at the directory, and you'll find that the federal grand jury actually has a meeting place in the federal courthouse. So me and several witnesses went up over the course of several weeks. I have affidavits from them. You'll see a great big sign. I'll read you the affidavit. It says grand jury. We walk in and we say, listen, we'd like to talk to the foreman of the federal grand jury, and we need to start an investigation into widespread, systemic, ongoing public corruption. And we get told by the receptionist and the support staff, oh no, we can't let you just go and talk to the foreman of the grand jury. We have to get approval from the U.S. Attorney's Office. They actually gave me a number. I actually called the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I have the number of the U.S. Attorney. I'll give it out.
But now, do it now.
Yeah, I will. I actually have the number of the U.S. Attorney, and I called him up and I said, listen, you know better than this. You're not supposed to be controlling the federal grand jury. I'm supposed to be able to walk in the grand jury, and I actually had to provide to them, I gave this to Brenda. I had to hand deliver to Brenda a copy of U.S. versus Williams, and I had to say, listen, you don't need to understand the case against Mr. Williams. All you really need to do is look at the dicta from comments that U.S. Supreme Court Judge, here we go, Nathan Riley is the U.S. Attorney at 718-254-6196. Yes, that's Nathan Riley, Reilly. He's the Assistant U.S. Attorney, the AUSA, the Assistant U.S. Attorney. So he's the assistant to the federal prosecutor, Loretta Lynch. His phone number again, ladies and gentlemen, call him up anonymously, call him from a payphone, say, how come you're interfering with Lydia Radin and other people from New York ability to start an investigation into widespread systemic ongoing public corruption. So Nathan Riley is at 718-254-6196. Brenda gave me his number and said, you have to call him and he has to give approval before you can go to the grand jury. I'm like, no. I called up Mr. Riley. I said, Mr. Riley, you're supposed to know better than me because you're a federal prosecutor. You're supposed to be trained in the law. You're not supposed to interfere or block my access to the federal grand jury. You're not even supposed to provide surveillance. Go ahead.
And also, that's the same thing in Hudson County, New Jersey. I wanted to speak to the foreman. Oh, you can't do that. It's like we have the First Amendment right to address grievances to our government, and yet at every turn they thwart us, and then they call us extreme domestic terrorists when we question their authority and power, and that's not right. I mean, they're there to serve us. We're not there to. But again, they think that we're the chattel and we're the slaves. Back to you,
Jason. That's a very insightful comment, and I'd like to thank you for it because you correctly pointed out not only in Hudson County at the state level, because I called them too. Do they block your access to the grand jury at the state level? But here we're demonstrating that they're blocking our access to the federal grand jury. And what you correctly pointed out is that they are violating our First Amendment, our constitutionally protected right to petition our government for redress of grievances. So they know what they're doing is wrong, and what they've done is these mechanisms were put in place by our founding fathers and our founding mothers, by our founding fathers, that by the people who established this country, so that we would have a mechanism for a remedy to stop the wrongs against us. And what the executive branch of government has done, and I already provided an organizational chart to the U.S. Marshals here in the Eastern District of New York. What the Marshals, the U.S. Attorney's Office, they're all, and you can email me at crookeddoctors@gmail.com, and I'll send you the organizational chart signed by Eric Holder, the U.S. Attorney General in 2012. In fact, you can Google this. This is the executive branch of government that's violating separation of powers by interfering with my right and your rights to access the federal grand jury. That's illegal. That's criminal. That's unconstitutional.
Well, it's not even that. It's just that this is a mode of operation, and they need to feel the sting of their contempt of treason. I mean, every time they stop the people from operating in what they should be doing, it's an act of treason, which is actually, and is found guilty by the common law grand jury, which John Jaresh is trying to get through with the full wanto. Even the federal Supreme Court justices, all 9 of them are in contempt of distributing bad behavior. And the only thing we want is to be able to be live in peace, not to be we're made slaves. I mean, in New Jersey, in every state that's going off course, they make our rights to travel into privileges and make us pay fees and taxes we're not being supposed to pay because it's not in the 1789 Constitution. And even the 16th Amendment was never approved properly. 27 states passed it. There are 48 states present. How does that become ratified? I don't know. Back to you, Lydia.
Exactly the point that you made that was right on target before you wandered off into the weeds a little bit. The point that you made that was right on target is that John Darash has been challenged, and as you know, what do you need this common law grand jury for? Because we're demonstrating irrefutably that the mechanisms, the ability for us to access the grand jury has been taken away from us, thereby demonstrating irrefutably a need for a common law grand jury. So how do we drive this forward? What does the average Joe do? Well, we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity here with Loretta Lynch. I'm going to read to you the email. It's kind of short, but in broad brushstrokes, it gets us through the right-on-target issues. So I'm going to read this to you and then look forward to your comments. But this is attorneys and that I discussed this with at the Senate Judiciary Committee. So what you do is when the U.S. Attorney, the executive branch, the U.S. Attorney is part of the Department of Justice. When they break the law, you go over their heads to the Senate Judiciary Committee and you hold them accountable. And you go to people like Senator Grassley. So I'm going to read to you the information I put in Senator Grassley's hands, and I'm continuing to go forward with this. So give me take about 5 minutes for me to read this. This is an email.
Well, do it.
Okay. So here we go. Dear Mr. Rybecki, thank you. Item 1. Thank you for speaking with me regarding U.S. Attorney Loretta Lynch's hearing in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee in Washington next week on January 28th and 29th for the post of U.S. Attorney General when Eric Holder leaves that office. Item 2. Please find attached an affidavit from Mr. Castle wherein he confirmed that Loretta Lynch's office illegally blocked my access to the federal grand jury. I am a crime victim. Item 3. Please direct your attention to his last sentence wherein he stated that to rush to judgment without giving us and others an opportunity to testify is a great wrong against us and the American people. In fact, we are presenting human rights violations germane to the international community. Item 4. I will be providing you with other affidavits as well as irrefutable evidence from my case as promised as soon as possible. Item 5. Whoops, sorry, just 1 second. Item 5. My case affects every American. 5A, and these are the points you want to pay attention to. Yeshiva University was found, so if you happen to be a major out there and you're giving false and misleading information to a 4-star general claiming that the information that I provided is just about Lydia Radin and the terrible things that happened to her, no sir, major, you are wrong, you are lying, I will call you on it. So my case affects every American, major, listen up. 5A, Yeshiva University was found to discriminate on the basis of religion against those who are not Orthodox Jews in the 1999 Diane Persky case. Yet, the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, did not revoke Yeshiva University's tax exemption by the standards articulated in the Bob Jones University U.S. Supreme Court case, demonstrating irrefutably that our federal government discriminates on an institutional scale against Christians for Orthodox Jews and has been using the IRS as a means of aggression for years, not just in the recent past with the attacks against the Tea Party conservative groups. 5B, Yeshiva University stipulated to discriminating against me and to fraudulently inducing me into entering their medical school based on false promises made during the admissions process, such that all my money and the monies paid by federal and state taxpayers must be refunded immediately by the standards articulated in James versus SCS Business and Technical Institute. This would be found in New York Law Journal, January 15th, 1993, page 28, column 4. This is a New York civil case, 1992, and I'm going to just paraphrase this in the vernacular. Because a school lied to get a student to enroll, all bets are off, to use the vernacular, and all the money must be refunded. That's what that case says. James versus SCS Technical and Business Institute. Yet, law enforcement, judges, and the offices of U.S. Attorney, including Paul Fishman in Newark, New Jersey, and Loretta Lynch in the Eastern District of New York, protect the wrongdoers. Jason, I'm hearing a bunch of background noise. Do you want to mute up for just 1 second while I get through this? Thanks.
Lydia, it might be one of the callers that called in. We had like 3 people on the line calling on phones.
Let me just read this.
Let me go on mute. This is Donnie D. Let me go on mute.
Okay. So, thanks, Steve, for calling in. Let me just get through this.
Okay.
I'm almost done. I'm almost done here. Yet, law enforcement judges and the offices of the U.S. Attorney, including Paul Fishman in Newark, New Jersey, and Loretta Lynch in the Eastern District of New York, protect the wrongdoers and continue to victimize me to protect Yeshiva University and Dan Rizal, a former federal prosecutor who I caught in crimes, demonstrating irrefutably widespread, systemic, ongoing public corruption, among other things. Further, Dan Rizal and Yeshiva University used the Manhattan District Attorney to persecute me, to inflict the crimes of false arrest and false imprisonment on me, as well as to aid and abet Yeshiva University in stealing money from me and federal and state taxpayers. These crimes, these hate crimes, affect me and everyone. 5C. I'm about halfway done, and I'll try to get through this as quickly as I can. 5C. 36 federal judges on the Second Circuit Court of Appeals upheld intentionally fabricated rulings in my case, and in another case against Yeshiva University, that of Rabbi Mordecai Twertsky, establishing dangerous precedents and demonstrating that these federal judges committed a fraud upon the court, lost jurisdiction by executing crimes, and must be removed from the bench. And I will be sending that evidence in another email. The Senate Judiciary Committee is familiar with this issue from the Sonia Sotomayor hearings, which took place before the crime of false imprisonment was inflicted upon me in retaliation. My reward for going down to the Senate Judiciary Committee and confront and outing Sonia Sotomayor was to be drop-kicked in Rikers Island, where I was almost killed. That's my reward for telling the truth. 5D, I'm almost done. It's D and then E. There's about, less than 15 sentences left. 5D, in the military, listen up, Major, who's providing information to a 4-star general. Listen up, Major. 5D, in the military, Mr. Mikey Weinstein of Military Religious Freedom Foundation is building a great big wall of separation of church and state and has persecuted Generals Caslin, Sutton, Catton, and Brooks. Yet Mr. Weinstein cannot demonstrate the great big wall of separation of church and state at Yeshiva University and at Torah College by the standards articulated in the U.S. Supreme Court case Lemon versus Kurtzman, which you can look up in Google. This case was used against Catholics in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, but not against Orthodox Jews, again demonstrating irrefutably that our federal government discriminated and continues to discriminate on an institutional scale against Christians for Orthodox Jews and has been doing so for years. This is the last item, item 5E. There is no such thing as separation of church and state. That is a misnomer. Our Constitution states that we will not establish one state-backed religion. Yet Yeshiva University and Torah College, these are Orthodox Jewish schools, overtly religious schools, yet Yeshiva University and Torah College enjoyed and continue to enjoy a great benefit. Lots of public money goes to promote private religious education, while all other religious and faith-based groups get a phony baloney separation of church and state argument thrown in their faces. In sum, we established one state-backed religion, Orthodox Judaism, in violation of our Constitution. That would be bad enough, but at Yeshiva University, they teach hate. They teach that those who are not Orthodox Jews are not human. So I'd like to, I think I've outlined things pretty well. I will be going down to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and what really bothers me, and thank you, Donnie D, for calling in, you have people like Reverend Pastor Cooper calling in. Pastor Cooper's groups, when he does faith-based groups, he should be funded equitably and fairly. We're all paying taxes, and our tax dollars go to promote one religious group, less than 1% of the population, while the rest of us are getting screwed. And this has been going on for 50, nigh on 60 years now. So when we've got the black churches who are doing good work in our community, and we've got the Baptists and the Christians and the Catholics who are all trying to do the best that they can, every time they ask, even prison groups, I talked to an attorney down in Washington, even prison groups, when they try to go and do good work, they're not getting the same sort of support that Yeshiva University is. This is a war against the Christians. This is a human rights issue. We live like Palestinians in the United States. This is my last remark, and then I'll get some feedback. In Palestine, in Israel, if a Jew commits a crime against a non-Jew, that Jew is never prosecuted. But if a non-Jew commits a crime against a Jew, the non-Jew is prosecuted. That's how I'm living in the United States. Okay, so this is really serious, and we're making history by forcing the Senate Judiciary Committee to deal with it. So, Donnie D, you want to start with you? What do you got to say?
Oh, well, I just called in. I'm sorry for the background noise. I'm driving in my car, and it's just a shame that Christians are being persecuted, and government is funding other groups. What can we, Lydia, what can we do in that situation? Who do we talk to? I mean, I just tuned in. You might have already spoken on that. But Pastor Cooper is going to be on my show tomorrow night, along with the Bible study teacher, Cyril Musson. And, that might be something I want to talk to them about. And what do you think we can do about a situation like that?
This is a great, thank you so much, Donnie D. If you were here, I'd kiss you chastely on the forehead. Thank you so much. Thank you. So much. What you can do is I'm going to give out Senator Grassley's phone number and at the Senate Judiciary Committee. And if you're out there and you're saying, listen, it's not anti-Semitic for us to tell the truth. We think this is freaking wonderful. How much money do all us other groups get? If Yeshiva University and Torah College can get all this public money and they can run overtly religious schools to the point where they have religious rules, you have to obey religious rules. If you don't obey religious rules, you can be subject to student discipline. Hey, how much money did the Catholics get, and the Baptists, and the Islamic and university? Here we go. We've got Senator Grassley's phone number at the Senate Judiciary Committee. 202-224-5225. That's 202-224-2. I'm sorry. I'm going to do it slowly. This is the Senate Judiciary Committee. You can ask to speak directly to Tom Lehman, who happens to be the Chief Nominations Counsel. Tell me spoke to Lydia Radin. They all know me. I've been calling them for a week. Kicking up a storm. 202-224-5225. 5225, and say, we want to know what's going on here. And it's not just Lydia Radin's case. What's going on with Eugene Warwick? How come we can't get our audio tapes? What's going on here? Start pushing this. And you can also call Senator Trudeau's office, and you can ask to speak with David David Rybicki. And David Rybicki's phone number over at Senator Trudeau's office is 202-224-3521. So you don't have to just go to Senator Grassley. You can say, hey, the entire Senate Judiciary Committee is responsible for this. You know, we've got, where's our constitutionally protected right to petition our government for redress of grievances? If you're right here in Brooklyn and you're subjected to a crime, the police do something terrible to you. Oh, you think this doesn't happen? You should be able to go to your federal grand jury and ask for redress of grievances. Right now we got Corey Townsend, who's standing up to Judge Goubet, and he should be able to go to his, without fear, should be able to go to his federal grand jury, but he can't. So we have to have a common law grand jury. So,
well, that goes as the district points out. The whole system is based on intimidation, bullying, confrontation, and Monty Hall's "let's make a deal." If you don't pay it now, it's going to be more, and that's what the whole system is. It's just it's like being Jesus, being in Israel, going into the high holy synagogue of David's place, and now we have the judges who are supposed to follow an oath of office, following the supremacy clause, and understanding that they're not following the oath of office by common law. And I asked the judge in Jersey City, Judge Abad, what is the law of the land? Oh, you can go to a law library. By his not saying anything about that, he was ignorant of his duty. Back to you.
Yeah, we're not supposed to be educating the judges and the lawyers. They're supposed to be bending over backwards to assist a pro se litigant. In fact, this is the very good information that Eugene Warwick gave us from Chief Judge from the Chief Judge at the Second Circuit Court of Appeals that I posted on the blog site, The Death of the Justice System, where Judge Posner, the Chief Judge of the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, he's making a ruling in Smith versus U.S. District Court officers, and he's saying, look, here's this pro se litigant. He's coming in. The district court judge should have never dismissed this case. It doesn't matter how a pro se litigant stylizes their motion. It's not a triumph of appearance over substance. You're supposed to deal with the substance. But the
judges are supposed to be there to help the people. We're supposed to have courts of justice. They are courts of injustice. They are morally bankrupt. Everyone needs to go in and say, can I see a W-2 form for this case? Jersey City rakes in about $3 to $4 million a year in fines to the people. And I'll say this.
So Donnie D, what you can do is you can ask your pastor. By the way, I love Pastor Cooper. I was listening to him last couple of weeks. I had him on the show. Pastor Cooper is inspirational. You can ask Pastor Cooper to put this in front of his church board and discuss it and look at the hard evidence and say, hey, wait, this isn't fair. You know, we're all going to work, we're all paying taxes, and one religious group gets a great deal, a great benefit, and the rest of us are getting screwed. You can cite to Congressman Micah. Wiley Deck and I had this discussion. So it's not like Congressman Micah's office. Congressman Micah knows. Wiley Deck is chief of staff. Start looking at some of the hard evidence. I would be happy to present this evidence to Pastor Cooper's congregation, and they can start asking for fair and equitable treatment. You can call the Senate Judiciary Committee and say, listen, we're not out to get Loretta Lynch. I'd be thrilled to have her do the right thing, but what's happening here is wrong. She's not supposed to have an office policy where she blocks our ability to access the federal grand jury. That's not right. She knows better. In fact, I was talking to her assistant in her office, Michelle Johnson, and she was like, oh my goodness, this is terrible. Let me talk to someone and I'll get back to you. I haven't heard from her yet. We're not out to get Loretta Lynch. We're not white supremacists. I'd like her to do the right thing. So that's what you can... Donnie D, I love this question. Thank you so much. Call the Senate Judiciary.
Okay.
The worst thing that can happen is that and I discussed this with members of the Jewish community. The only thing that can happen to make it even Steven, I know that sounds stupid, but the only thing we can do to make it even Steven is that the Orthodox Jews enjoyed this great benefit for 50 years. They're going to have to stop getting that benefit, and whatever they got is going to have to be provided to all other faith-based groups for the next 50 years. And then after 50 years, we will have made it even. So can you see all the Jews in America going, oh yeah, let's pay taxes so our tax dollars can go to promote private religious education?
Well, let's just go, Lydia. Let's just stop talking about taxes because they're repugnant against the sovereigns of this country. We have been brainwashed to think that the almighty government of the democracy, which is a republic, is to which not to understand the people's quest and desire for justice. Back to you.
So what we can, thanks, Jason. So what we can do is say, look, we're not out to get anybody. It's not anti-Semitic to tell the truth. But if we had this one group, less than 1% of the population. By the way, Donnie D, African Americans are like 14% of the population. So if you actually got just a small fraction of the African American community to actually take action, they could get justice for a whole lot of people. So when you talk about the Orthodox Jews are like less than 1% of the population, and they've enjoyed this great benefit for the last 50 years. So the way to make it even, Stephen, I've talked about it to the Catholic Church too. They said, listen, they didn't just stop at schools. They wanted to pass religious laws on the public bus system that would reinforce Orthodox Jewish separation of the sexes, even though this is a public bus system that everybody pays for. If they want to separate the sexes according to their religious rules, they can pay for their own private bus system, but that's not what they wanted. So they will try to do this in many other areas of public life that we all pay for. And they were stopped from doing this in one particular area of upstate New York, I believe. So the only way, what we can do, Donnie D, is we can say, listen, we want equal justice, we want fair treatment. For the next 50 years, all the Orthodox Jewish schools who got all this public money will now not get all this public money, and the rest of us will get the same, the rest of the religious and faith-based groups will get the same equitable funding for the next 50 years. And what will happen is all the Jewish community will get their backs up and say, we're not paying taxes to support somebody else's religion, and we'll pick ourselves up and leave. Well, that's what will happen.
Lydia, we have 2 callers on. I'd like to be able to open it up. You've been doing a fantastic job. I'm really glad you've got your affidavit in. The truth will be on there on them, and that will make us free. And I thank you very much for being that point person, being the pathfinder for the people. Thank you very much. We have 2 callers on. Would you like one of the callers 518 like to be able to talk in?
Sure.
What's your name and say your issue?
My name is Charles Roast, and my issue is judicial conduct and ethics violations.
Did Jason talk to me about this earlier in the day?
No, I didn't. But there was another issue there. But the thing is that they protect themselves. I filed a claim against the chief judge in Jersey City, and it was thrown out, and it has to go to a judicial conduct committee. If the person's doing something bad, they won't find anything wrong, because if they do, they're all going to be fall apart.
It's not judicial Here's what you do, caller. If you got problems, the mechanism that's supposed to be put in place for you is you go to your state, the state courthouse, and you ask to speak with the foreman of the grand jury. And have them have them block you, caller. And then what you do is you fill out an affidavit, bring a witness with you, bring, hidden cameras, whatever you can manage, but bring witnesses with you, and make a good faith effort. This will take a day of your time, less than a day of your time. This will take an hour or 2 of your time. Go to your state courthouse, ask to speak, go to, walk in, ask for direction, go to the grand jury administrators, say, I'd like to speak to the foreman of the grand jury, I'd like to sit down with the foreman to start an investigation into criminal conduct in my case. They're going to give you a runaround and say no. You say, thank you very much, go home, fill out an affidavit with your witnesses saying you were blocked, just like me and Jason were blocked in Jersey and Hudson County from going to our grand jury. Then go to your nearest federal courthouse. This will take another hour. And go to your federal courthouse, and on the directory find the grand jury, the federal grand jury. Go up to the federal grand jury, walk in, say, I'd like to speak to the foreman of the federal grand jury. I want to start an investigation into widespread systemic ongoing public corruption. Have them block you. Fill out an affidavit. Now you got 2 affidavits. Give them to John Darash. He's collecting all of them. I'm giving them to him. And then call the Senate Judiciary Committee and say, it don't matter where you are. We've got these U.S. because what will happen at the federal courthouse is the U.S. Attorney's office will stop you, and they have no right to do that. So what you'll do is you'll be collecting up the evidence that shows, and you'll push this now. So what you've got is Loretta Lynch wants to become the chief law enforcement officer. Eric Holder is the chief law enforcement officer, and the U.S. Attorney's office that they're directly responsible for. You can Google an organizational chart, or I'll send it to you. And you'll see that the executive branch of government is blocking your access to the grand jury. They're taking away your ability to get a remedy. So you're being victimized. This is now a human rights issue. It's criminal. That's the International Criminal Court eventually. So that's what you can do. You don't have to argue the merits of your case. We don't need to know the details. The mechanism that was put in place for you is to go to your grand jury. They're stopping it.
Let me interject. What you can do too is also go to National Alliance and get an affidavit form, and when you sign in as a member, you will get all this information. You are privy to more. I mean, the more that we are educating ourselves and our fellow Americans, we will take down the system. But again, it takes people that have been victimized. You find more victims in the court than you do in City Hall. And
okay, Lydia?
Yes.
Lydia, I called you before. I got a couple follow-up questions. And what had happened was, I'm concerned if I go that route, because I've already been denied by the Judicial Board, and it was everything's confidential. And I was going to go right back to them, and I want trying to find out what you think. I've got a couple of avenues I want to pursue. Why can I not appeal their decision as being arbitrary and capricious? They give you no opportunity to speak. It's only a written complaint, and then you hear from them. You never hear from them until the decision's made. And they hide behind the fact that they have no discretion in the judge's decision. So the judge did not follow the law. He picked up some law. I don't know where he came up with the law. I've talked to you before on this. He come up with a decision. He did not follow the law. I will go and do this to the grand jury. I wish I didn't know this before, because I knew the foreman of the grand jury here in this county. But I will go to the grand jury and pursue that aspect. But I'm saying, isn't there an opportunity in some legal fashion to appeal their decision?
Well, here's your problem, and this is how the system's been co-opted. You may have the facts and the law on your side, so you go down to your state court or you go down to your federal court, and you put in your papers. And here they see the little pro se litigant, no attorney, all by themselves, no big group, and you put in your papers. How do you know when papers go into that court, the clerks are handling them? How do you know what the judge sees? You have no idea what the judge sees. And we demonstrated this with William Doherty in Jersey City, because William Doherty in Jersey City went in, put in a motion, 14 pages. It took us an entire day of running around like chickens without our heads to confirm that the clerks of court threw out 13 pages and only gave the judge the one page they wanted him to see. In my case, in the Southern District of New York, I go down to Federal Courthouse, Southern District of New York, 500 Pearl Street. I put in my papers. Lo and behold, my papers in the pro se office go to some pro se lawyer who now reformulates and reworks my papers and gives the judge only what he wants the judge to see. I have no clue what the judge saw. You have no idea what that. I guarantee you the judge is not seeing what you put in. So you go in there, what you know is you're putting good information in, and you're getting bad information. Something bad is happening there, only you don't know. So you have no clue about that. The only thing you can do is to drive that. You know the game, right? So they insulate the judge, they isolate the judge. Here's what you can do to drive that judge out into the public forum. You put in a motion for judicial notice. Judicial notice, please take judicial notice of this irrefutable fact. A motion for a request for the judge to take judicial notice, and if you're a plaintiff or if you're a party to the action, asking for judicial notice, you'll Google this when we're done. Taking judicial notice is part of the rules of evidence. It can come at any time. So you can demand an open public hearing pursuant to taking judicial notice and demand a public hearing. What's going to happen is, because they always do this, they will never give you the public hearing because their whole game is to isolate, insulate the judge, give them bad information, and manipulate the decision keeper. So what you do is you get like bullets. I've been doing this for the last 2 months. Like bullets. You get your facts together, and you keep putting in papers saying, take judicial notice. I demand, and you carbon copy it to the chief judge, the clerk of court, the U.S. Marshals. You wallpaper the place, and you say, take judicial notice. A motion or request for judicial notice can come at any time. I'm making it now. I want an open public hearing to discuss this fact. Then attach the fact. They will never have the open public hearing, because when you get the open public hearing, you drive that judge into an open public courtroom where you will then do what Eugene Warwick and Bill Allen advised you to do. You will say, I want the court record made as an audio tape, and I'm not leaving this courthouse until I get that audio tape in my hand. So when you drive the judge out into the open and you have the audio tape, which you can put up on the internet, that's what holds the judge's feet to the fire. And what you can do, and I'd like to thank Jason Berg for reminding us, is on the National Liberty Alliance website, John Darash took a course called Jurisdictionary. The guy who wrote Jurisdictionary is a lawyer for 25 years. He got sick and tired of watching all us little pro se litigants getting beaten up. It's the best. I don't get any money from promoting this, by the way, but it's the best $200 you ever spend. I think they dropped the price. If you can afford it, get Jurisdictionary, do it. But there's a free version of Jurisdictionary on the National Liberty Alliance website that was rewritten and reformatted by John Darash. He said it didn't go fast enough. It was only written for attorneys, and he actually took it the next step into common law. So the single best thing you can do to drive that judge into the open is request them to take judicial notice. And they won't. So now what you've got them is you don't have to argue common law because they don't even obey their own rules. Once they're not obeying their own rules, they've lost jurisdiction. So they have no power over you. You'll sue the judge. So what you and the single best thing you can do is
Lydia. Here's my challenge. I agree with what you're saying, but they've already made a decision and said the law says they have no authority to determine any invalidity of the discretion of the judge in his decision, even though that decision is he didn't follow the law. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're misconstruing, they're lying, they're playing all these games. I don't know where you are in the litigation process. When did this decision come out? Most recently, or?
I talked to you 2 months ago, and you guys called me back. I had I took the municipality to court, upstate New York, rural area here.
I remember.
Repair of the bridge, and then he gave me a decision on both of them. And I wrote a writ of error. Well, he come back with a writ of error, and he says, well, I'm going to take that as a motion to re-argue. And I said, oh, no, you're not. I said, the motion or the writ of error is to tell you did something wrong, because he wrote back to the attorneys. He said, plaintiff feels, and he quoted the law, which I quoted, that the adjoining parties were not served. He wanted them to argue against, to give him ammunition, so to speak, to make his decision. And when the other parties responded, it was amazing what I saw with the attorneys. They had the wrong dates, and I just threw it out. I said I object highly to this, and then I also filed charges against the other attorney, one of the other attorneys, and he got wind of that, and he threatened me in a letter. And I'm going to file charges on him. But it seems like they protect their own, and you can't get in there. You can't find out what's going on. And I'll do that judicial notice, and I'll go to the grand jury. But there's also, within the municipality here, you talk about, I've got the mayor. He swears himself in as a constable, which is a violation. He can't hold both offices. Then he gives tickets to me. How many other tickets did he give? No one else, just me. I'm saying to myself, how can you do that? You go to the district attorney, they won't do a dang thing. They won't, that's official misconduct.
Yeah, you know what they're doing? They're retaliating against you because you dare to stand up, and they're a good old boy club, and they're acting like a criminal.
5-year-olds.
Yeah, a bunch of thugs. So what you do is you go to the state court level, you demand to see the foreman of don't even go to the state court. If you know the foreman of the grand jury and you can meet with him where you way outside of any official building where you'll be on security cameras, and you talk to him and meet with him in secret, lay out your case and have the grand jury come up with a true bill and force it down the sheriff's throat and make them. Go to the federal grand jury and say, I want to meet with the federal grand jury and start an investigation on the federal level to widespread systemic public corruption, and have the U.S. attorney in upstate New York block you, because because now you're showing what you want to do is go over their heads, and these are just like check. Now you're in the international human rights community. Oh no, now you're talking about international, because that's. Make no mistake, I don't give a damn what they do. International Criminal Court. We demand effective intervention into America because we're being victimized. Well, do you think the United States, a President Obama wants all of us Americans reaching out to the international human rights community saying these are human rights issues? We got the very people, it's the U.S. attorney that's victim. You really think they embarrass the hell out of them? Hell, go down to I shouldn't even be saying this. Go down to contact the Russian embassy and say, listen, Putin promised that he'd help any Russian on American soil. Will you help me? I'm an American on American soil in a time of war, and I'm being victimized by the civilian government. Call the military. I'll give you a few numbers to call. Start making a stink that they can't get away from.
Man, I'm making a stink. It's one person just like you. And I'm saying more people are waking up, but what happens is the papers, the paper has quoted me in its newspaper with a story. They never even talked to me. And people say, well, write a letter to the editor. Well, they won't put it, and then they censor it. And so, it's almost you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You're trying to find the way to fight, and you got to pick your battles. I put them on notice that they've discriminated against me. They violated my constitutional rights to equal protection under the law. Okay? And I say to myself, maybe I should go to a federal court just one at a time. I don't know. If you go to federal court, see, the beauty of going to your federal grand jury is that you don't argue the merits of your case. You go there and you say, my First Amendment constitutionally protected right, I'm petitioning my government for redress of grievances. You're going to get the bums rush. Oh no, the U.S. Attorney you have to call our supervisors at the U.S. Attorney's office. You say, oh no, the U.S. Attorney does not control the federal grand jury. And now you've got the federal government violating your constitutionally protected right. So you're golden. You don't have to worry about all the other stuff. You've got the U.S. Attorney's office blocking you. Hello, that's great. But make a pit stop first with your state grand jury. Talk to the foreman of your state grand jury and see if you get some results. See what happens. And then also go to the federal grand jury and then pick up the phone. Here, I'm going to give you the phone numbers. Pick up the phone and call Senate Judiciary Committee
So you got to do it first. They probably know we're all doing this now, but call the Senate Judiciary Committee and say, go over their heads. They get away with it because you play in their box. It happens in New York too. I'll give you an example. They murdered Mr. Diaz in the New York City Police Department by chokehold. Murdered Mr. Diaz in 1994. So his family took him to state court. State court vindicated the NYPD. They went to federal court. After they went to federal court is when the police officer who murdered Mr. Diaz with a chokehold, I think he got a 7.5-year sentence. You're always going to lose at the state court level because it's a good old boy system. They control the state courts. So you're fighting the good fight. God bless you. More power to you.
Lydia, what about? And I've thought about this. Going to county. See, I'm rural up here. The county court where the individual was elected by the local people. The county court, and taking. I thought about going to county court.
Well, that's what I meant by saying state court. You got to go at the state level. So you don't want to make yourself sick doing this. What you want to do is run your business, take care of your health. Pick your battles. So you just want to do a few things because they can make you crazy with doing 50,000 other things, and you become, as you correctly pointed out, a cottage industry.
Lydia, have you ever? Now, how can you file criminal charges, official misconduct? But that's criminal. That's not civil. That's a criminal. If they won't take it, they won't take. I'm going to the state police, and he talked to the district attorney.
The state police. You don't go there. You go to your grand jury. You go to your grand jury.
But you can also go to the marshal. And,
no, you don't go to the marshals. You go to the grand jury is your mechanism. Wow. You're supposed to go to the foreman. The foreman of your grand jury. Go there. Say, I want an investigate. It's supposed to be in secret. They're supposed to act independently. You organize up your evidence so it's targeted. You sit down with the foreman of the grand jury and 3 others. If I were you, I would prudently have a hidden video camera. I would prudently have a hidden audio tape. I would prudently bring witnesses who are brave enough to sign affidavits. So when all these people stick a knife in your back, you can say, listen, they also did not make their decision based on the facts. And I would go to the federal grand jury and say, I guarantee you, when you walk into your federal district courthouse and you walk to the grand jury and you go, hello, and you talk to the receptionist, they're going to go, oh no, we have to get authorization from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Bring your people with you, have them sign affidavits that say, oh, we had to get clearance from the U.S. Attorney's Office before I could go to my federal grand jury. Just do it once. You don't have to exhaustively throw yourself against that brick wall. Then you fill out an affidavit, you give it to John DeRash. We're collecting a whole bunch of them. John DeRash is going to use this on a national, international level to say, we have to do this. We have to establish common law grand juries to take our country back. And once you reach out to the grand jury, they can't screw around with you anymore because you're supposed to be protected. You're a crime victim. Call it the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Also, when the common law grand jury meet, the grand jury meets now. They got a big trial down in my county from Tioga County. They had to change the venue. It's something going on, and I think the grand jury, I just missed it, or it might be going on now. Well, but I think they can call a grand jury anytime there's a need for it. Well, again, the people can call for it, and you have the right to address the grievances against the state has violated you. But again,
that's First Amendment. That's your First Amendment.
The First Amendment, right to grievances, yes, and you also have the right to due process. And you've been violated. You've been violated every which way, and by going to the grand jury and also I'd say go to the marshals also, because you have to file a record. In Hudson County, I am not permitted to file with the sheriff affidavits on the judge, and that
you have to go to your grand jury because Jason. Don't make yourself crazy.
No. But the thing is, I'm going to do everything you're doing, but I just want to make it a matter of fact because, again, this is a paper trail. We're on a pathfinding thing, and all the paper we give is enough to burn, make us look like a campfire. And we are faced.
But I would recommend. I went to the U.S. Marshals because I had other compelling reasons to go to them that I can't talk about on a public station. But don't make yourself crazy. Because
I'm not. I'm having fun doing this.
Oh well, if you want to knock yourself out, go ahead. But for the caller, you want to stay sane. You want to have a life. You don't want to be persecuted. You do want to hold the wrongdoers accountable. So some of the it's a multi-pronged approach. Like pick 5 or 6 different things that you can use. You can always go to your city council meeting and put everything on the record because basically city council have to be publicized.
That's who I'm fighting. It's rural, town and village. They won't listen. They won't even respond to communications. They will not respond to my communications. I go on there. They call me a damn liar. Okay, they call me a damn liar. They've had people. They've been quoted that he's done it. Nail him to the wall. You can't get any response. It's in one paper. They make their money, a great deal of their money, from public notices from the community in the towns and the villages. You're fighting City Hall. I don't even bother to go anymore because what they'll do, they abuse you.
But the reason why you're going, this is the exact experience that I had at Jersey City City Council. They don't want to do anything. You don't go there expecting them to do anything. Eventually, this is all going to come back, and they're all going to be.
Want them?
It's all.
Lydia, I've got a paper trail with foils.
Okay, so the only reason you're going to the city council meeting is because you can speak publicly, and because they must, under the sunshine laws, publicize the city council or the town council meetings. In Jersey City, they had to do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 2 weeks straight on local cable channels. So it is an effect.
Don't happen up here. They only do they will not do the village. They will not do the town meetings. They wait until 9 o'clock. The reporter goes home to discuss anything controversial.
Okay,
so
that's
how they have the meetings.
How they have the meetings?
That's illegal because there are sunshine laws where the people have to know what's going on because it's their government and they're paying for it. So if they're playing all these stupid little games, you know what to do. Go over their heads. Go to the foreman of the grand jury. If you're getting jerked around in your county, don't play in their sandbox. Go to the state.
I'm going to the grand jury, and then I'm going to go to federal court.
Right, and make sure that if you go to these meetings, if you're working and you can afford it, get yourself a refurbished video camera. And for $20 a month or $30 a month, you can get editing equipment. And hell, I would minimally edit my stuff, throw it up on YouTube, and start protecting yourself by videotape. I used to videotape myself in front of the Jersey City Council, saying, "Here's a litigation point. Here's how the prosecutor has lied. Here's how you're all co-conspirators in this lie." And I put it up. It's
and the real thing is, Lydia, you've done a fantastic job with that, and I miss you in City Hall. And they would look at you perplexedly. What are you talking about? And the thing is that everything you were saying was on target. I talked to Coanto and other things, and I got David Rivera looks at me like I'm an alien, and he can't understand a word. But I'm sorry, I digress. But are we finished up with you, caller? Because we got one other caller on, and we only got 30 minutes left.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, young man.
What you need to do is, it's a multi-pronged approach. So you get your legal pad. You don't make yourself crazy. You pick a couple targeted moves. Your state grand jury, your federal grand jury. Make a phone call to the Senate Judiciary Committee. This is all like less than 1 day's work. You do the notice. Take judicial notice. And you start speaking about pick 1 or 2 litigation points that's very easy. You get the general the attention span of your the local people are like a minute or two. So make it really easy for them to grasp a litigation point. For example, Jersey City Medical Center. The security guards jumped me. They held me in their hospital to discredit me. The FBI does not have a signed court order. They had no right to interfere with my liberty. They committed a crime. So explain to me how all these people on the city, county, state, and federal level conspired in this crime. Easy to understand.
And that also interject you. That was also again done to you in New York State for the same thing. Now.
Exactly. So what you do, caller, is you pick 5 or 6 different things. You have your publicity arm. You go to the grand jury, the state and federal. In your litigation, you ask them to take judicial notice, and all you're dealing with is, what do they got here? They're a bunch of old ladies falsifying paperwork? Are you serious? Go to the military and tell them you can demonstrate widespread, systemic, ongoing public corruption in the civilian sphere and hold their feet to vote. They'll freak out. They'll make up excuses. Oh, we don't want to get involved. Great. Now you're a human rights victim. You're human rights. You're an American dissident. Contact you'll have a good time with this, projecting yourself on an international stage. Call up the Russian embassy. Say, will Putin help me? Oh, my God. Do you know how much Putin's going to love this? That all us little peon Americans on American soil in the time of war have to call up the Russian president and ask for help? Have a field day with this.
All right, Lydia, we have another caller, 646. Can you got the floor? Please, hello.
Yes, so I just wanted to. This is a little bit off topic, but it's related in somewhat because of personal liberties and violation of parent rights. I'm just going through a major battle with the DIFAS Child Welfare Agency, and my parenting rights and family has pretty much been damaged and intimidated, and I'm just looking for some answers or some steps to acquire my parental rights back, and also to check this organization who seems so powerful and autonomous.
You're the caller. I think Jason told me about this. This is what you do. They're victimizing you. They're taking advantage of you. They're milking you for attorney's fees. Same thing. Go to your state courthouse. Say you want to speak to the foreman of the state grand jury, and you should be able to sit down with 3 members of the state grand jury and start an investigation to how you're being. What they did to you. If what Jason is telling me is true, it's outrageous. They've run amok. They're like a steamroller rolling over you. I don't want to say the details on radio because it's nobody's business. If you happen to be a member of a minority group, oh my goodness, I think they're discriminating against you. Go to the state, your local state court, and when they rebuff you, make sure you're entering enemy territory. Okay, so do not go there alone. Go there with people who are strong enough to give you affidavits. On this date, we went to this courthouse. We spoke to get names, get business cards. They're going to be running a security camera right after you get done, and they spit in your face. Make sure you write to the clerk of court and the security people and say, preserve that security camera videotape to show I was there on that day. And have them spit in your face and block your access to the state grand jury. Say thank you very much. Fill out your affidavits. Bring your hidden cameras, your hidden videotapes, your audio tapes. Lots of witnesses. Get your affidavits. Then go to the local federal courthouse. That's your next move. Wait. Go to the local federal district court. Look up on the directory for the grand jury, go to the grand jury, walk in, say, yes, I'd like to speak to the foreman of the grand jury. I'm being victimized by widespread systemic public corruption in one of the most corrupt counties in New Jersey. Believe me, I know where you're coming from. And go to the state courthouse in Newark, and do not, under any circumstances, interact with the U.S. Marshals at that federal courthouse. I know them. You want to avoid them like the plague. Listen to me, brother. Do not, under any circumstances, go to the U.S. Marshals at the federal district courthouse in Newark. They will not help you. I've already been there, done that. Just go to the
or the FBI ever.
Oh, the FBI. That would be the
And you
FBI.
never look for Homeland Security to
Federal
help you out,
BS
or
Incorporated.
FEMA, or the CIA,
Wait.
or the CDC, or the FDA. Hey, we need to write a parody.
What you do, what you want to demonstrate is widespread systemic ongoing public corruption such that there's a compelling need for the common law grand jury. John Darash is not a terrorist. He's responding to a need, a compelling need. So the reason why I'm telling you to do this is because with two simple moves that should take very little time and very little effort, you can support a movement that's growing. Now the federal government has no response to this. The very remedies that were put in place for us to solve our problems have been taken away from us. We're victims. We have no remedy. This is unconstitutional. You'll break the federal government. So it's very simple. You get a legal pad. You got a multi-pronged approach, okay?
Let me just say it.
On your knees, praying to God they spit in your face, caller, because you will wind up having the federal government has great big deep pockets. By the time you go to the state grand jury and they spit in your face, and you go to the federal grand jury and they spit in your face, you don't argue the merits of your case anymore. You say it's very simple. My access to the federal grand jury, the state and the federal grand jury, was blocked. At the federal level, it was the U.S. Attorney's Office that did it to me. And at some point in time, you're going to sue the federal government. You think the federal government is great big deep pockets? Yes, they are. Okay, so now...
Let me interject. Robert,
right.
One thing we're talking about when you have people around you, they're called court observers. And the court observers are there as your bona fide co-affidavit people. And the more people you have in your band of brothers going into these illegal courts, you are building your case up for your affidavit. The more you see what's going on and the more you participate. I know you've gone through a lot of hurt and you've been victimized to beyond belief. And the real thing here, folks listening, is that the Division of Youth and Services have taken over control of how we can raise our children. And it's very disheartening how they think that just by saying something is never proven and it's not a fact, and they go into court and rip families apart. I yield.
The motivation, caller, and you didn't know this probably. The motivation is greed. If they can make a reason up to take your children from you, guess what? That's a lot of money. It's greasing the wheels. Right. You know, these attorneys and DIFUS and this Child Protective Services, now they get to stick it to the taxpayer. They took your kid because they need warm bodies. That's why you need to fight this, because if you win your case, you are doing a great public service to everybody else. That's why they put people in Rikers Island. They need to fill those beds to stick it to the taxpayer. That's all they care about. If your case is so good and so compelling, there's no evidence, there's no charges, there's no criminal conduct. You know, if a person hypothetically was inflicting physical child abuse on a child, they would take that, and I know this because I worked in this area. They would take that child to an emergency department and document with a doctor, you know, bruises and cuts and all. None of that is true, from what I understand. If that's what's happening, then you go to your federal grand jury and you show how the government in Jersey has run amok to stick it to the taxpayer because they have violated your constitutionally protected right to due process. They can't. You make sure that you make sure it costs them a lot. They're going to make it hard on you and me and Jason, all us people out in the vanguard, because we're the ones that are going to break this thing open. So be prepared for a fight. But that's what you need to do. It's not how we raise our children. It's this. You know what the unemployment rate for attorneys in New York State is? It's 40%. These are make work jobs. Make up a lie so that you can make a paycheck. So you make sure, caller, that you go down and you go to your state grand jury, your federal grand jury, you make sure that you make a stink like they've never heard. If what Jason was telling me was true, you make sure, if it were really true, there would be emergency doctors reports, all this. The only thing they got is a bunch of psychologists running around making up stories, making up lies. That's all they got. Old ladies making up lies to stick it to the taxpayer. The taxpayers should be supporting you, caller, because when you want a bill, you want to know how much money DIFAS has run up in their make work, busy work, making these frivolous claims so that they can bilk it to the taxpayer to keep their jobs. And how much money did they rip you off in paying an attorney for? Okay, you're going to make sure that you fight the good fight. They're going to pay you so much money, caller, you're going to put your kid through Harvard.
Right.
You know, that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. How can they do this? They do it because people let it happen, because people don't have the backbone that you do to make sure it doesn't happen. Okay, that's what I know what county you're in. Believe me, I know how corrupt the system that you're dealing with is. But the bottom line is they're breaking the Jersey taxpayer. The reason why people are moving out of Jersey is because they can't afford this big government anymore, this big make-work socialist government anymore. The taxpayer is being broken. That's why you'll get support.
Right. So the first step is pretty much go down to the state court.
Go down to the state court, ask to speak with the federal, the foreman of the. Go down to the state court. Asked to speak with the foreman of the state grand jury. You want an investigation into public corruption. You know your case. You know what happened to you was wrong. You know there's, and what'll happen is they'll say, oh no, the district attorney controls the grand jury. Or, oh no, we need to get approval from the county prosecutor. Oh no, you don't fight with them. You just say, oh no, I don't think so. I think the grand jury operates independently of any prosecutor or any judge. And they'll say, oh no, you're a dumb bunny. You go, okay, thanks so much, that's wrong. The people who came with you will fill out the affidavit. You think this is not effective? It's very effective. We did this in Women Organized Against Rape in Philadelphia. And we used to have volunteers go into the emergency departments and volunteers go into the courts. That's how federal law was changed. That's how things changed. Bring people with you, have them fill out the affidavits. Take your affidavits, give them to John Darash, make sure you got copies, everybody's got copies. Now you've reached out to your grand jury. Anybody tries retaliating against you, you're supposed to be protected. Your next stop, go to the federal district court. Go to the federal district court house, ask to speak to the foreman of the federal grand jury. They're going to say, oh no, we have to get approval from the U.S. Attorney's Office, get that name, get that number, say, oh yeah, I'm supposed to call the U.S. Attorney, the federal prosecutor. They're not supposed to control the grand jury. You say, okay, fine, no problem. You don't argue with them. They're supposed to know. They're supposed to be educating you. And then you fill out affidavits with all your people saying that your mechanisms for redress of grievances was blocked. You are left without a remedy. You're a crime victim you're a crime victim. Now it's a human rights issue. And you call the Senate Judiciary Committee and say, oh, look, another federal prosecutor is interfering with my constitutionally protected right. The civil government itself is the wrongdoer. Those are the steps that you take.
And once you have notified the Senate Judicial Committee,
Judiciary Committee,
actually, technically speaking, they're actually supposed to remove that person from their post because they're shown to be in bad behavior. Would you agree, Lydia?
Yes, I would. And
the thing is, with the Coanto, we have to give them the Coanto, and actually, the entire judicial system is now is in bad behavior. So they have to actually recall all those district court judges and the Supreme Court justices.
Now, what you want to do, caller, is, and I want to protect all of us too, is we're not giving you legal advice and we're not practicing law without a license. We're just from our own bitter experience sharing with you what works and what the kinds of things we did. It's not going to be, it's all of us working together to push back. Remember, it took them, like decades to co-opt the system and decades to keep us ignorant and decades to do all their evil. And so it's going to take us a little while to undo all their evil. But what I would also suggest that you do is go to the National Liberty Alliance website, and John Darash, out of the goodness of his heart, put up a course there called Jurisdictionary. Now, you will learn a lot. You don't have to worry about becoming, an expert in common law. If you ask, if you put in a motion or you take the Jurisdictionary course, if you got $200, spend the $200. It'll get you up to speed as quick as you can. If you can't afford the $200, go to the National Liberty Alliance website, and John Darash put a free Jurisdictionary course up there. Don't worry about learning all of it. Just let it wash over you and learn the best you can. But remember, at any point in time, you can ask any judge to take judicial notice of a couple irrefutable facts in your case and drive an open public hearing. It's hard because you're scrambling. A great wrong has been done to you, and you kind of, you're mad. I know how hard it is, because once one thing happens, another bad thing happens, and then another bad thing, and you become like a cottage industry. Where do you put your, what do you take care of first? So prioritize, and you got to make sure that you got a job, a place to live. You can put, you can take care of your physical needs first, and while you fight the good fight. So I hope that you have family and friends around you. Surround yourself with them, and then start taking these steps. It's not going to be done in a day, because it didn't take them a day to do all this criminal conduct toward you. They probably picked on you because they figured you were a dumb bunny and they could get away with it. Prove them wrong.
Definitely.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely. I'll definitely, follow up, and I'm definitely in this fight for the long run.
And so what you can do to help other people too is, if you get these affidavits and give them to John Darash, I'm envisioning that at some point, he's going to have a whole stack of them, and just sit there and go, so look at all the victims by the civilian government. Widespread systemic public corruption by the civilian government means you have every right to reach out to the military and ask for an effective intervention. They don't want to. They're scared. Because remember, and this is the briefing, ladies and gentlemen, there's a major who's talking to a 4-star general, and the 4-star general has a law degree, and he was persecuted himself, and they're too scared to get involved. There won't be martial law because the military's too scared to get involved. So we, the citizens, are going to have to fight the good fight.
Well, eventually, when the people cry out to the military, they will come in and relieve all the wrongdoers from their positions and posts, and they'll be served notice that they are treasonous, and they are treasonous because they have not. The most important part of the oath takers is they must uphold their oath and bonds, uphold the Constitution, and they are told to do. In the law of the land is the common law, yet they don't recognize it. Why? Because they have become a corporate entity, and all their courts are nisi prius equity courts. Actually, every court you go into in Jersey City, there are 6 annuity flags, which means that they are there to collect regardless, and they are illegal non-courts. They're also known as petty courts, and they don't have any right to do anything but be presidio courts, because they're there as corporations and they can only do contracts. You try to tell that to these mental morons in our states, in New Jersey.
But a caller. Here's the thing, because I discussed this with members in the National Liberty Alliance here in Brooklyn. If you go into court and you try to argue common law, young people are not educated. So the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to roll your eyes and say, oh yeah, that was gotten rid of centuries ago. You don't know what you're talking about. So you have this huge barrier to try to convince them the common law works. So you don't want to assume this barrier to educate them into what they were deliberately blinded to in law school. So what you do is you just use their own their own rules against them. So if you'll Google this, do you have access to the internet, caller?
Yes.
So if you Google the federal rules of evidence and you read up a little bit on taking judicial notice, if you're a plaintiff, you can drop kick a paper in the form of a business letter. I mean, you want to, educate yourself a little bit. You can ask for a judge to take judicial notice of an irrefutable fact. Here's an irrefutable fact. There is no medical report. There are no doctor's report. There is no emergency room visit that shows any kind of physical abuse. I never hit my child. I never did anything wrong. I didn't beat the kid. I didn't break his bones. All that were true, the police would have hauled us into an emergency room immediately. They didn't do any of that nonsense. It's, just because you're disciplining your child in an appropriate way as a parent doesn't mean that you're engaging in any kind of physical abuse. And just because DYFS was successful in getting a few people to lie doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. So you could petition the court and say, take judicial notice of this fact. They must give you an open public hearing. When they don't, they violated their own rules. If they violated their own rules, they lost jurisdiction. They can't do anything. So it's going to take you a little bit of time to get up to speed, but here's what I would recommend. Join the Oath Keepers. Okay, this is a bunch of former law enforcement people who have taken an oath that says they will not turn on the American people. Now, I know in Jersey City there's at least one good guy who's a member of the Oath Keepers. Join that group. Go to their monthly meetings. You'll learn a lot, and they're going to teach you how to defend yourself. And also join National Liberty Alliance and go to your local priest or pastor. Surround yourself with the church. Join a couple different groups because what's going to happen is they're going to come after you. Right? So you want a lot of people around you. The Oath Keepers are very good because, and I know I've gone to a bunch of their meetings, these are former law enforcement, sheriffs, police officers, marshals, FBI, that say, we don't come to this. We're not going to go along like Nazi Germany went along and use the excuse of, we were only following orders. We're not going to turn America into a police state. So I would join that group. I would go to their meetings. I'd learn as much as you could there's a free course, Jurisdictionary. You don't want to start arguing common law. It's going to take you like a few months to get up to speed. You don't want to you want to just stick to the facts. You have good common sense. If you can communicate to Jason, then you know what's going on in your case. You know what's happening is wrong, and you want to reach out to the mechanism that was supposed to stop, put the stop to this, which is the grand jury. If they're going to stop you, then get your affidavits over to John Darash and show how this is way beyond them not obeying their rules. Now you're a human rights victim in the United States. So that's huge. So start taking steps. It's not going to, you're going to have to fight the good fight, but the best thing to do is just surround yourself with people and, go to your local church. Ask if you can. There's one woman out in California, I believe she was part of the Mormon church. She went to the board of her congregation and she laid out her case to the church. The church withdrew its support from the local family court because what they were seeing was so outrageous in terms of hard evidence. So you got a couple good things that you could do to put a stop to this, okay?
Nice. Yes, definitely.
Okay? And and be careful, if they're going to come after you with retaliatory gestures, you want to say, look, I'm a witness. I'm a federal witness. You're going to the grand jury, they can't touch you. So just no matter how Looney Tunes it gets, get people around you, stay very based in common sense facts to protect yourself. Because once you start challenging the abuses of power, what they want is for you to play along.
Right.
Right? They want you to be a willing victim. They don't want you to kick up your heels and say, I don't want to be a victim. Right? Go, and I know which county that you're in actually. Go to the city council meeting. You'll get 5 minutes to speak. I know this is true in Jersey because they were so upset with the facts that I was putting on the record at Jersey City Council meetings. You can speak for 5 minutes. They videotape it. It must be played 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 2 weeks straight on the local cable channels. So I'm like, hey, that's in effect a free commercial. So take one little point, practice, that you can get out in 5 minutes that everybody can understand, right? Like, hey, I was accused of doing this, but you know something? I never, there was no emergency room visits. There were no doctor's reports. There were no bruises, cuts, broken bones. It's nonsense. You're allowed to correct your child. If they're doing something wrong, you're allowed to discipline your child, right? Spare the rod and spoil the child. That doesn't mean that you've done anything that's abusive. So what you do is, get with that one litigation point, go down to the city council, put it on the record, and that's going to be played 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the local cable channels. So when they shut me down in Jersey City, I went to Hoboken, started speaking at the Hoboken City Council. And when they were like, what the hell are you doing here in Hoboken? I'm like, well, they shut us down in Jersey City. Then go to the Harrison City Council, take your little show on the road. Then go to Newark City Council, talk there. And they'll be like, what the heck is going on? You couldn't pay for this kind of publicity, right? Expose the crimes and let the taxpayers know that the reason why DIFUS is out of control is because they're making up stories to milk the taxpayers for money.
Well, how about let's be specific. They're lying, making false records, and fleecing the people like a caller here, and making him miserable. And the whole point of America is the family. The heart is the family of America, and they're destroying it. I don't even know how many victims DIFUS has attacked. I mean, we have our friend in Jersey City who was trying to do good, and then they took her grandchildren away because they weren't following their staple literacies. So we got to stand tall. And the caller, thank you very much for calling in.
Before you hang up, caller, can you afford I don't get any money for this. Can you afford $49 at Radio Shack to buy yourself a handy dandy digital tape recorder? Because if you can, go buy one. Spend $12 for the telephone adapter. Call up DIFUS. Discuss your case. In Jersey, you're allowed to make audio sound recordings for the accuracy of your records. Those are MP3 files. You can upload them into YouTube in a heartbeat. So call up DIFUS, get the caseworker on the phone. They have to talk to you. You are a parent. And start asking them, what about this? What about that? What about the other thing? Say, how much are you paying the Forster? How much is this costing the taxpayer for you to do? And
also look up the word contempt of court. It's really not what they think it is. A contempt of court is when you show total disrespect and total disregard for the authority in there. And when you speak softly and ask questions, that's not being in contempt. That is being mindful and make them squirm for their money, because they're just there to be a picker. They're picking your pockets. Back to you, Lydia. Caller,
if you're in court and you're telling the judge, that they're breaking the law and you've done nothing wrong, and the judge disregards you, the judge doesn't have jurisdiction when she does things like not giving an open public hearing pursuant to taking judicial notice. Say, drop kick a paper in there and say, take judicial notice of this fact. There's no medical reports here. There's no evidence of abuse. This is all just made up. I demand an open public hearing. They won't give it to you. They just broke their own rules. When they break their own rules, they lack jurisdiction. So, get yourself a handy dandy little tape recorder and start tape recording them, and put your litigation. You know that you're tape recording, right? Get the social worker. Go work your way up. I used to tell, I can mention her name, Pauline Roman. Take your handy dandy little tape recorder. Call and work your way up the chain of command. Call all the supervisors. Make sure everybody at DIFUS, from the lowest the lowest social worker all the way up to the state supervisors, the people in charge. Make sure they know your name. Scream your head off all the way, all over DIFUS, and have it all on audio tape.
And Lydia, we're at 7:58. You want to conclude?
Yeah, it's up to Rick. Are you there?
Yeah, Robert, I'm here.
Okay.
Hi, Robert.
All right.
No, we're talking for Rick. Rick.
Did we lose Rick? Well,
he should be on. This is his radio station.
Well, sometimes he's juggling a lot of different things. Oh, look, I got something in the chat room. Oh, let me. Hey, we got. I haven't been paying to the chat room, but we got a lot of very nice. We got some very accolades. Hey, caller, we got some accolades on the chat.
Lead off one.
Let's see.
Did you call for a break or something?
No.
Yeah, Annie, are you going forward, or are we going to wrap up the show?
No, you can go as long as you want. We're retired on Friday nights now since you're on.
We're retired.
Would you like a break? Do you need to grab a drink and we'll spin a song and a couple commercials?
Yeah, I'd like to end at 9 o'clock. So, caller, if you want to talk a little bit more about, your case and your game plan, we can do that too. Let's take a break for about a good 5 minutes, and then we'll go to 9 o'clock. Jason, if you got to go,
I don't know.
I felt okay. Hey, Rick, can you play "We Didn't Start the Fire"? If you got that in your piece, I'd love to.
I've always listened. I've always tried to give her the best advice when she called crying, but stop contacting me.
Okay, so we're going to take a little break here.
Yeah,
right?
everyone.
I can play it. I can play it on the way back. I'll play "We Didn't Start the Fire" on the lead back in because Annie already has the playlist set. Okay.
All right, so we're at 8 o'clock. We'll be back at 8:05 Eastern Standard Time, and I'll say a little something in the chat room, and then we'll be back in 5 minutes. I do have to end it at 9 o'clock today, but caller, if you want to continue.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish what you were saying. Go ahead.
I'm done. We're at 8:01. Okay. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
And that's what that conference is all about.
Okay, so I'm going to mute up now. Okay.
All right, we'll be right back with more Lydia Radin.
People sleeping in
every Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. For the Word with John Durash with NationalLibertyAlliance.org. Doing an in-depth Bible study from Revelation and the barren time we live in to Genesis. The second hour will feature callers and hosts discussing the scriptures covered and how it speaks volumes in our lives today.
And he told us what he saw, and it's easy to see. It's going by the book. It's going by
The Word with John Durash. Every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. On Shake and Wake Radio. Tune in for The Word.
This is the Shake and Wake Radio Network, where the truth is all that matters, and the truth will make you free. Roar like a lion at shakeandwakeradio.com.
And now, back to Crooked Doctors with Lydia Raiden.
Thank you, Annie. I appreciate it. By the way, I love the music. You guys, Rick is a very good. He should be playing. I understand Rick had a professional music career before he went on radio. Is that true?
Yes, yes, and then he actually had an office for about 3 or 4 major record labels, and he turned them down.
Wow. I mean, I love I love the songs that he picks. He's very good. I'm very grateful. I feel very fortunate that let's have some donations to as soon as I win a few in my case here, and I'm well on the way to doing that. We got to make some donations to Shake and Wake Radio. Don't be shy. Ask for a little support. I've seen the listener base increase just in the very short time that I've been a host. So
Yes.
guys, if you can dig out a few dollars and support Shake and Wake, because it's just a matter of time. I'll be going into court with my dishonest landlords and asking for triple damages. So all the money I had to pay defending myself in landlord-tenant court, I'm going to be asking 3 times as much. So Rick and Annie.
Ask for 10. You should get 10. 10 is good for God. It shouldn't be for the people.
Yeah, no, but you know, Rick and Annie, that I will definitely. You're doing great work.
7's our favorite. Go for 7. Don't be greedy. 7, God's favorite number, the number of perfection.
You know,
the number of days. And the 7th day, God rested.
If you can afford to donate Rick and Annie just a few dollars to keep them going. Thank you, Anonymous 3427, who's on the chat room. There was a little echo now. Let me bring down my volume just a little bit. But what I posted in the chat room that everybody can see, and I'm going to say this, if you really want to start rattling their cages a little bit, U.S. Senator Charles Grassley is on the Senate Judiciary Committee. He's actually a very nice guy, I think. But
why would you think it?
Well, no, he's actually, I went down and I shook his hand personal like during the Sonia Sotomayor hearings, and well, I'll tell you that in a minute. But call if you want to call. Senator Chuck Grassley is on the Senate Judiciary Committee, and I spoke to a member of his staff today, Lauren. I apologize in advance because I'm going to mispronounce her last name. I think it's Prieb, and it's Prieb, Lauren Prieb. She is an attorney. You can call her at 202-224-2525. That's 202, you're calling Washington, 224-5225. Call and ask to speak with her directly. Say, hey, I heard you talk to Lydia Raiden. She'll have a heart attack. She has no plausible deniability because I went through enough litigation points that she has no plausible deniability. And remember, she's an attorney. So you can also call at the Senate Judiciary Committee, U.S. Senator David Perdue's office, and you can speak with, this is on the chat room, David Rybicki, and it's rye like rye bread, Rybicki, Rybicki, David Rybicki, and you can reach him at 202-224-3521. He went from Senator Grassley's office. He went to work for U.S. Senator David Perdue. So call him up and say, hey, we understand there's widespread systemic public corruption, and the U.S. Attorney's Office is in on it. And we understand that you're going to be asking Loretta Lynch about this, and you got 2 affidavits so far. What are you guys doing there? The Chief Nominations Counsel is Mr. Ted Lehman, and it's in the chat room, Lehman, and he's at you can reach him through Senator Grassie's office at 202-224-5225. I put the numbers up there. And you know what else I think I'll put there? I think that I will put the contact information for Governor Christie's office for Gene Ashmore. I
want you to know, I just want to know what I'm trying to. I'm meeting up with Christie, with one of my people in one of the Second Amendment group, Andrew, and he's doing a fantastic job. So, if we can even hand that to him personally after you send it in, that'd be more of a telegraph.
When are you meeting?
I don't know when we haven't set the paperwork in, but we're just laying it down. But again, we're going to be meeting. There's just that we are there as a unified front, and not being a front, and asking heavy questions. And the real thing is the whole problem with the entire state of New Jersey and every state in the union is that it is in its own deep poo. If it gets out, it can't get out because they're all guilty. And if they keep going, they're still guilty. And we're taking them out by declaring their treason, and we're not firing a single shot to get our victory. And that's what makes us dangerous. Because paper cuts. And as soon as we the people cry out to the military, they will have to take their guard up and do their duty. And their duty is to protect the people from the government. The government has gone rogue. And I have no problems with authority, but when authority becomes abusive, it's time to recall their authority and power.
If authority meets at Bohemian Grove, I think it's time that we arrest these people and hold them accountable.
Well, they will be arrested.
Seriously, that's it. I mean, think about that. When the biggest corporations and biggest leaders and people in media meet at Bohemian Grove, you have a problem that is clearly unlawful, illegal, a conspiracy, RICO all the way, murder, everything. It's got everything, man. This is like the perfect nightmare horror movie if it wasn't real.
And I agree. It is a horror story. We're putting people through such grave distress over
Walk up to someone at Walmart and say, excuse me, do you realize vampires rule the world? Well, actually, vampire cannibals. And you see, they're the enemies of God.
That's something to
who call themselves the elite, and they control money, media, everything you see. They control it, and the system's about to collapse. So they're going to get rid of 80 to 90% of us. So I just wanted you to know that. Go home and look up New World Order. They would think you're freaking crazy, but that's the truth.
Yes, it is. And the fact is that there's so much queer stuff going on in our society. To ignore it.
And by the way, I'm glad I met you at Walmart today. Check this out. Satan is real. Look up Satanism in America and stuff like satanic ritual abuse. Hey, let me write it down for you. Satanic ritual abuse, Satanism in America. And while you're at it, Sandy Hook and Satanism. And check out all the stuff you find on YouTube. And here's my number. When you're having a nervous breakdown as you wake to the truth, you can call me anytime or visit us at Shake and Wake Radio for support, because that's what we do here. We not only pull you out of the matrix, but then we're there to help you work through it, because it's traumatic, man.
Well, I love the entire database we have here at the station. You have fantastic hosts, and they are intriguing, enlightening, and pleasant. And it's very important that we all come together. Like,
They're
in life.
for real, man.
Oh yeah, we all are. And
yeah,
our hearts
they're for
are here.
real. And you know what? Somebody can come on and say, well, religion is about control, and I don't believe in religion. And we'll go, you know what? We don't either. We believe in the true Messiah, God as a man, Emmanuel, God with us. But we don't believe in religion either, or anything done in the name of religion that has turned out to be slavery. You know, like one of the things we play. In other words, come on. How can you think the Catholics or Rome, right, they would march into a territory, and this is the ultimatum they would give, and it's in a documentary we play, is they come in to your territory and they say, listen, if you submit to the Catholic Church and our ways and taxations, then we'll let you go on with your lives. If you don't, we'll come back, we'll rape, murder, pillage, and plunder, and take you as slaves.
Rick, with all due respect, I can't really go along with bashing the Catholic Church. I mean, I know they're bad. You know, I mean, I know that things have gone. We're not stupid, right? I mean, I know there are priests who've raped children.
No. I'm not talking about the people who go to church or individual priests. There are a lot of good people involved. What I'm talking about is the top of it is run by the Black Pope, and it is the control that is the Freemasonry working with the Satanic Jews. They're all together as one, you know, and that's what the New World Order is. These Satanic fake Jews from with the Vatican, with the Freemasons, with Washington, D.C., with the banksters in London, all of it together, you put those groups together, that's the New World Order. And
well, the New World Order is now us and caller. I got a phone number for you. Are you ready? 646. Hello.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, you're in Jersey, the state of Jersey, right? You're in New Jersey. Well, you have a constituent. After you go to the grand jury and they spit in your face, and this is the state grand jury. Here's what you do. You got a problem. You're going to call Jean Ashmore. She's part of Constituent Services. Okay, I'm going to give you a number. Ready?
Okay.
609-777-2500. Probably the phone call will be fielded by a guy named Brian Arenas, but you can talk to him, but you want to go to Jean Ashmore. I got another number for you. Ready? 609-777-2504. Jean Ashmore is head of Constituent Affairs, and you tell her that, you know, hey, DYFS is a state agency. They've run amok. This is my governor. I'd like to bring his attention to the fact that this state agency is spending a lot of taxpayer dollars wrongly on this case. And not only am I experiencing harm, but you're handing a great big bill to the taxpayer, and this should never be allowed to go on, and make a stink about to the Constituent Affairs person. Ask her to bring this to the attention of the governor, and it's his state. And one of the reasons why Governor Christie was elected, or, you know, how he got elected, was in Jersey, what you had historically was the Democratic Party could get elected through the unions. And remember, we've had Eugene Warwick talk about the patronage system. That's how the Democratic Party kept themselves in power. So what you got in Jersey is a big blue state. The unions would, terrorize all those running for office or the elected officials, that they get all their big unions, not to vote for you. And the unions, through their pension plans, broke the taxpayer. It was Governor Christie who was standing up to the unions because they were breaking the backs of the taxpayer. That's how he got his, political.
Well, let me just say this: they made a system, and the people paid into it. It was a 50-50 program. All employees have to put in 50% of their money into the system, and the city or the corporation they're in pays for the other 50. And those monies they took out of those pension plans were robbed by Governor Whitman, and since '91, and it's owed billions of dollars, and they took it illegally. And these were the people's money. not the state's money. And they would put it in their trust for this fund, and they robbed it. And that's white crime. Would you agree, Lydia?
Yeah, it's white collar crime, and what I would but one of the reasons, you know, they're criticizing Governor Christie, but he's one of the few people to step up and say, okay, we're in a bad place. At his town hall meeting, I think he asked for a very modest increase, like 1% or less than 2%, that the unions would pay to try to save, you know, balance the budget and save the. I don't know all the details, but I do know that the unions went after him mercilessly. And he's like, look, you know, I'm stepping into a bad situation, doing the best that I possibly can, asking for a modest contribution by the unions. They just wouldn't have it. So the reason I'm making this point, caller, is because you will get support if you point out how DIFUS is running up a great big tax bill for people to pay, and it's not warranted in your case. Let me just break away for a second here, because it looks like in the chat room a person named Timmer321 has said the following, and I want to respond. It looks like I need to call the numbers Lydia posted, but showed up late. Can you recap what to call for? I have evidence of fraud in the court like no other. Well, person in the chat room, he's a host here. Okay, thanks. So it looks like the person that's asking this question is
he's the host of Upside Down on Saturdays at 3 p.m.
So if you've got evidence of fraud in the court, what you do is, the first thing you got to do is go over to your state courthouse and ask to speak the foreman of your state grand jury. Have them spit in your face, they will. And then you go over to your federal courthouse and you ask to speak to the foreman of the federal grand jury. And what'll happen is you'll get the staff or the receptionist to tell you a lie. They'll say, oh no, can't talk to the foreman of the federal grand jury talking about widespread systemic ongoing public corruption. We have to get authorization from the U.S. Attorney's Office, the federal prosecutor. Isn't it wonderful that the federal prosecutor controls the federal grand jury? No, they don't. Okay, the grand jury is supposed to operate independently of any judge or any prosecutor. So what you can say is that, hey, I was listening to Lydia Radin's show. Guess what? She posted the contact information for the Senate Judiciary Committee. And the reason why you're calling is because Loretta Lynch has been nominated to be the new U.S. Attorney General, this chief law enforcement officer in America after Eric Holder leaves that post. So her nomination is going through the Senate Judiciary Committee. It's the Senate Judiciary Committee that's going to vet her, and they're supposed to be asking these questions in an open public hearing. So I posted the phone numbers for you to call an attorney at Senator Charles Grassley's office, and another attorney. I'm not sure if they're attorneys or not, but you can also call the U.S. Senator David Prudhow's office. They both Senator Prudhow and Senator Grassley sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee. Have them ask these questions of Loretta Lynch. Say, listen, you saying in your public statements that you want to protect Americans. Well, here's your chance. What are you going to do to make sure that all these innocent victims can access their federal grand jury? Shouldn't you be sending out a mandate that says that the U.S. Attorney's Office nationwide should not and will not, from this day forward, block a person's ability to access their grand jury at the federal level? I mean, shouldn't you be saying that's wrong and you're going to correct that? And shouldn't you be doing it at your office, Miss Loretta Lynch? Because if you're blocking Miss Radin's ability and two other members of National Liberty Alliance's ability, and they've already submitted their affidavits, from accessing the federal grand jury to start an investigation, great. The FBI ain't going to do nothing. The FBI is told what to do by the U.S. Attorney's Office. The FBI is disappointingly dumbed down. Now, I hate to age myself. I'm responding to the chat room. And the host already said, I already contacted the FBI, but they have done nothing in 8 months. Congressman is overseeing it. The FBI is like the detective in the field. So they're told what to, on the state level, the district attorney's office would be telling the police detective, go out and find me this, this, and this. Well, the FBI is told what to look for by the U.S. Attorney's Office. So, for example, I went to the FBI too. And James, the special agent in my case, James Eagle Eye, has been so lied to, so dumbed down, so manipulated, so lied to by the U.S. Attorney's Office. He's got the evidence in his hands. They can't hold you as a prisoner in a locked psychiatric ward to interfere with your, up to the level of military intervention. We'll get there. I've got the FBI. I'm responding to the feedback I'm getting in the chat room. So everybody wants to go to the chat room. You can type in your own little comments, and I'm responding to one of the hosts here saying, that he already contacted the FBI, but they have done nothing in 8 months. Because the FBI is told what to do by the U.S. Attorney's Office. So, even if you've got a sharp FBI agent, and I hate to date myself because I remember when the FBI were really sharp guys. Now, I don't know who they're recruiting. It's very disappointing. But, in my case, that would be Special Agent James Eagle Eye. He has my, they're not medical records. They're wholesale fraud from Jersey City Medical Center. And I go down there regularly and I ask this question, can you show me a signed court order to interfere with my liberty? From Jersey City Medical Center, they can't. I actually have to teach the FBI that if there's no signed court order, that Jersey City Medical Center committed the crime of false imprisonment on me. Now, that's ridiculous. So you're not going to get anything from the FBI unless you go down there face-to-face and, force the issue. You're not going to get anything from the congressman unless you go down there and force the issue. When we demonstrate widespread systemic public corruption in the civilian sphere, we have every right to contact the military. Now, the feedback I got was that, and you could probably find this information, it's probably out there, the continental United States is governed by the military has divided things up into Southern Command, Pacific Command, Northern Command. Find out who the 4-star general is, who's supposed to oversee what happens in America, and call up the 4-star general and say, hey, I can't go to my grand jury because the president, through the executive branch of government, right? This is the U.S. Attorney General. That's the U.S. Department of Justice. That's the executive branch of government. That's President Obama, right? The executive branch of government is deliberately blocking our access to the state and federal grand jury. That's illegal. That's unconstitutional. That's violating separation of powers.
And that's treason. That's an executable offense. And when the jury gives it to them, they have to live up to their penalties. And this is nothing. This is not a witch trial. This is just applying the law that applies to them and their violations against we the people. And we don't, and it's really repugnant that we have to be going through all these changes and just trying to live in peace and living in a 1789 Constitution which has the original 10 Bill of Rights prohibitions. The Constitution was not written for the people, it was written for its civil servants. They have 22 things that they can apply to, yet they are not doing their diligence. And that is appalling. Back to you.
In the chat room, you can actually, I'm going to see if I can do this while I'm doing this. You can actually go to Google. There's an organizational chart of the Department of Justice. I think if you Google Eric Holder, let's see, he signed it in 2000. And let me do organizational chart. I'm going to try to put the link on the chat room. He signed this organizational chart for the Department of Justice in 2012. Let's see if I go to images. Can I get it? Oh yeah, here it is. Oh, look at that! Isn't that wonderful? Here we go. Let's see. Let me go back and see if I can get it another way. I want to. Hold on. Let's see. Department of Justice. You could know. Here, I'll send a link to the chat room real quick. I typed into Google search bar in between quotes Eric Holder, and then I took a space, and in between quotes I typed in organizational chart, and I went to images, and I'm going to put this up, and what you're going to see is this. I'm going to put the I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat room right now. Okay, so if you follow this link, you'll see the organizational chart of the Department of Justice. Let's see if you click on it. I just put it in the chat room. I hope it works. But if you click on it, let me see if it works. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. If you click on the link I just posted in the chat room, you'll see the organizational chart. And on the left-hand side, the topmost one, Department of Justice, you'll see it was signed by Eric Holder. And you'll see how the Department of Justice encompasses. Let's see if I can increase the view so I can get a better view. Let's see if I go to the Zoom. Yeah, oh, it gets a little blurry if you go to Zoom, but you can download this, and you can see the Department of Justice. I have my own copy because I gave it to the U.S. Marshals. You can see that the Department of Justice, everything flows from from Eric Holder. So it's Eric Holder, and then it goes through the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Marshals, the FBI. They're all supposed to report to the United States Attorney General. So right now, what we got is Loretta Lynch. This is what I was being asked in the chat room. So I put in if you click on the link that I posted in the chat room, you'll come to the organizational chart, and it was signed. It was signed by Eric Holder in 2012. So basically, the U.S. Attorney General is the chief law enforcement officer, and all the U.S. attorneys are reportable to him. They all have to report. They're all accountable to him. The U.S. Marshals are accountable to him. So if the FBI is jerking you around, look at the organizational chart and go over to the U.S. Marshals. The U.S. Marshals have a direct line to speak with the U.S. Attorney General. So when the FBI is doing wrong and the U.S. Attorney's Office is doing wrong, you go to the U.S. Marshals and say, you have a direct line to the U.S. Attorney General. I should be able to come to you. And when you can show that the Department of Justice is engaged in widespread systemic public corruption, and they're even blocking at the federal level your ability to access the federal grand jury so you can start an investigation into widespread systemic ongoing public corruption with the federal grand jury, once that you show that the separation of powers is being violated and your constitutionally protected right to petition your government for redress of grievances is being violated, that's huge. Now you make a little phone call to a 4-star general. Don't think that there isn't a 4-star general out there. You make a little phone call to, I don't know, North American Command. I know out in the Pacific they're doing everything they can to make this thing go. There's a 4-star general, Vincent Brooks, who was persecuted by Mr. Mikey Weinstein. He's a lawyer. He knows what's going on here is wrong. JAG knows what's going on here is wrong. The major that's briefing the 4-star, he knows what's going on here is wrong. So reach out to now they're passing the buck, saying, okay, so go to North American Command, call them up and say, hey, I'm a crime victim. I can demonstrate widespread systemic public corruption. I can't get to my grand jury. Remedy has been denied me. You guys have all taken an oath to uphold, support, and defend the United States Constitution. Please help me. And see what you get. Make sure you record it on your handy-dandy little Olympus tape recorder, so that they can't lie.
They do, but the thing is that you have them on tape, and your recording is precious, and it's great. The movement is gaining momentum against the authority and power, and we're gaining momentum. On December the 10th, I was down in Washington at a sheriff's condemnation of the president's signing in of the alien bill, and putting executive order in it. And when the president did that, he actually violated everything, because the president can only sign law. He can't create it, and it was done under Lincoln's administration, and we've suffered that since that point. So it's this executive orders and memorandums are illegal because they are, in fact, out of their authority to do that. And when we are stating our point, we are going forward. And having what we're doing, we are blessed with this opportunity to be effective human beings and to be respectful of our fellow man, and how we're going to relinquish ourselves from the bondage that's been created by our corporate America, and how it has enslaved us. And it's like the old frog in the old water. You start out swimming, and then you wind up being boiled. So it creeps up on you, and that's how they've done us. And it's been done since the beginning of the 20th century. And this whole effect is our awakening. Now, when we wrote the Portwanto, I called it the Second Declaration of Independence, because it illustrated the point of how corrupt and our civil servants are, how disrespectful they are of us. What they are doing is beyond their scope of the 22 items, and because they have done that, they're in treason. And we need to have our republic back, not the corporate. We don't want the corporation. We want our republic back. And we have enough people here who they cooperate with. The greatest purpose is to work in a union, effective societies. And we're changing. We can change the way we react to each other and respond to each other. We don't need taxes. We need jobs. Taxes are a way of supporting the establishment. The thing is that we are entrepreneurs in our own life. Sustainability. I've been saying sustainability is the most important part of our society, and we can do that. And we had the first revolution of the American colonies. We had only 2 to 3% people effective in the environment, and that we are coming back again. And the thing is, this will be a war without firing a single shot nor firing a single missile. This will be done through the cooperation of the paperwork we filed, the calmness that we have in our state, and we are victorious in the way we are, because this is the way we stand. An honest man, you can never cheat an honest man, but a man with a heart of larceny is easy to fool. And we have to stand tall against each other, effective people in our society. And it's not what we are, it's what we do. Everyone says yes. That's another star and another man effectively adding to the cause. We need in New Jersey, we need 84 people. We need people to be working with us in our state. There's jobs for people to do investigators. They're called administrators. And those people are effective for the people. People, if there's no crime, if there's no victim, there's no crime, there's no case. They don't have the ability to apply anything. The state is a greedy machine that collects $4 million a year in Jersey City. What my guesstimate is. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. That's my point. We're being fleeced. We need to take our state that is granted us by God and our forefathers. And we don't want to have to raise a hand, because raising a hand awakens the beast that we are faced with. And we must be effective human beings to stand tall with our intelligence to beat the system. And the more they beat on you, the more you have power. Well, it's not power now, but again, the more you build a case against the beast, they'll fall down. And that's the strength of the people. We don't fire a shot. We take what they have, and we just make them more of a record. Would you agree, Lydia?
I got a very interesting a comment from one of our hosts, and he says, listen, Lydia, how can the Attorney General investigate fraud in lower levels of its own department and be unbiased? Well, they're supposed to do that. I mean, it's like, if you're running a company and I'm the CEO of the company and I got some people stealing from my warehouses, I'm supposed to go and put a stop to it. In most agencies, there's an inspector general, and the inspector general is charged with investigating and bringing to prosecution criminal conduct at the agency. So it's a good question, but that's what the U.S. Attorney General is supposed to. I mean, Eric Holder, and if Loretta Lynch becomes U.S. Attorney General, they're supposed to say, the U.S. Attorney's Office is not supposed to co-opt and control access to the federal grand jury. We actually had a hand deliver, and you can look this up, U.S. versus Williams, where we're quoting U.S. Judge Scalia, Supreme Court Judge Scalia, saying no, the U.S. No, it's not a dilemma. The response I got from the host is that's the dilemma. They're not going to convict their own of fraud and conspiracy when it reaches the highest level of the state attorney general who approved the fraudulent charges, which they dismissed 2 years later. They don't have a choice. Criminal conduct is criminal conduct. If you're dealing with the state attorney general, go to the federal. Right now, everybody said, for example, that Sheldon Silver, who was this, the speaker, very powerful elected official here, was untouchable. But the feds, Pret Barrera's office, arrested him, 2 days ago? Or yesterday or today? I forget. I think 2 days ago. Yesterday? Was it today? No, today? Yesterday. So, they have to. It's not whether they want to. It reaches the highest level of the state attorney general, go to the feds. You have no choice. You have to go to the feds now. So the other thing I posted in the chat room is if you're not getting the appropriate response from the state attorney general, you have or the federal government, well, and you can show that there's widespread ongoing public corruption, well, then you have every right to ask for your military to intervene. They, at the very least, they can make a phone call going, why are you people, why are you bozos?
Well, the thing is that
why are you bozos? Wait, let me just finish this. Why are you bozos in the civilian sphere? Why are the citizens calling us up in the military? And I posted in the chat room the link to the U.S. Northern Command, and I'm reading from the U.S. Northern Command defending our homeland. So let's see, Admiral Bill, oh man, let me mispronounce his name, Gortney, it has taken over U.S. Northern Command. So call him up. And go to the website that I posted and say, hey, the military is supposed to, when you have widespread systemic ongoing public corruption, you have no choice but to reach out to your military. So, with a tear in your eye, your hat in your hand, your toe in the dirt, you call up U.S. Northern Command. I posted a link in the chat room. You go over their heads, you go to Senator Grassley and Senator Perdue, and those senators on the Senate Judiciary Committee have the power to say, well, and we had the affidavits, and the affidavits we put in said, hey, if you rush this nomination through, you are doing a great wrong to the citizens in New York who are coming forward, and a great wrong to the American people, and we have every right to testify and to hold the U.S. Attorney's Office feet to the fire. This isn't just, a triumph of appearance over substance. Let's make Loretta Lynch the first black woman who's going to be the U.S. Attorney General. Yay, Rob, we've made history. Yeah, you've made history by taking someone who's overtly corrupt and putting her in a position of power. So now that what she was doing at a district level, she can now do nationwide and subjugate all of us. Yeah, you're making history because we have no choice but to contact U.S. Northern Command. Boy, the Admiral's going to fry my butt for this one. You can call up U.S. Northern Command and ask for their intervention. And now it's a hop, skip, and a jump to the International Criminal Courts. Jason, we're going to end at 9 o'clock because...
Right. It's 8:49 now.
That's why I want to give you the last word and our caller the last word. Because what I'm going to do is... I have to call a major who's lying. there's no way to say it, to a 4-star general, and that's really serious. You don't, and here are the 2 lies that he wants me to buy into. I'll say them real quickly, and then I'll yield to you, Jason. You do not. I discussed with them my loan debt, and the lie that was told to me that's probably being fed to them by JAG was, oh yeah, you keep paying the debt until you prove it's wrong. No, the people who are collecting money from you have to demonstrate that they have a right to take the money. So that's the first lie, Major. And then the second lie that the Major was told, and he's being fed this is part of the propaganda campaign, and I'm sure he's being fed it through JAG. The second lie that the Major told was, Lydia, you're just recounting episode after episode of the harm to you, but it only affects you. And as I detailed through this show, the harm that I'm experiencing affects me and every American.
Right.
So go ahead, Jason.
True. Well, as we go through another week of the going through to another month, we are blessed to be working on the cause that we're doing, and we're honest men and women trying to retake back our republic from the corporate America. In 1879, they killed us and they put us in this hole, and we're getting ourselves out. The key to our success is a continued pure force of positive works, and as we go forward, you will be who you are. Every man, if you walk positively in your life, you are a charged man, and you will draw in good things. God in his life in our life doesn't want us to go through all this tragedy, but we're not praying for better things, and we should be grateful for what we have and know that we're better for what we've done, and we are going forward in the case of being great patriots. And we are not the extreme domestic terrorists that they call us. They are the extreme domestic terrorists, because we walk with the Constitution. We speak the word of the common law. We are honest men and women. We believe in truth, justice, and fair play. We do not want to see any harm to any man, but when harm is done, there must be restitution. And if it's done by insurance, there is no injury. The issue has been resolved. And their courts that they have need to be removed. We need to have more money in our pocket, and we'll be better for it. We're not here, the people, to support the institution of the government. The government is here to support us. And it is time that we say goodbye to this establishment that is not an establishment. It's a corrupt RICO, and needs to be applied to the fullest extent of the law. And we need to be resolved that this will be done in the name of the people. We the people. God has given us inalienable rights to be forthright and to be stand right and stand forth. And as we go off into another week, may God bless every man, woman, and child, and the best they can do is the best you can do. Make your word true. Never make assumptions, and never take things personally. Because when you do your best, you are at full agreement. And if you can do that, you are very wealthy. With that, Lydia?
Caller, do you have a game plan going forward? Do you have a better sense of the kinds of stuff you can do to start fighting back more effectively?
Yeah, somewhat. A lot of information coming at me at once, but I think the next step is to go down to the state courthouse and ask to speak with the foreman of the grand jury, and after that, that's probably not going to be possible.
Well, the grand jury is in Newark. Would you agree, Lydia?
No, that's the first thing he's going to do is go to the state courthouse for the state grand jury, and when they spit in your face, then you're going to go to the federal grand jury.
That's in Trenton.
No, it's not in Trenton. It's in Newark. It's the federal courthouse in Newark, probably. I think it's call them and let them know. That probably covers your county. And those are steps that you're taking forward. I guarantee you, when you start doing that, and caller, you tell everybody you know to do the same thing. And you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in the upcoming weeks to follow in your footsteps, and you get affidavits from them. You're calling on Skype, so I also sent you, just Google on. Let me Google this real fast. Hold on. U.S. Northern Command. Call them up. Say, hey, I'm a crime victim. They stopped me from going to my grand jury. Please help me. Call us back and say and let us know what happens. I'll have a heart attack. You know what all the generals are going to do? They're going to sit down and go, excuse me, Mr. President, but the citizens are calling us and they're asking and crying and begging and pleading for help because, you ain't protecting the country, Mr. President. They'll have a heart attack. You'll have some fun with it too, caller. I mean, I know it's terrible now, but you'll have some fun with it too. And you are a member of a protected minority group, so that's even better. It's discrimination. So you have a better sense of the kinds of things that you can do to start fighting back.
Yeah, somewhat. It's pretty much reach out to the grand jury, and then just get the affidavit, and then after
common law grand jury, not grand jury, common law jury.
Well,
yeah. What he's doing first is he's going to the state grand jury and the federal grand jury so he can demonstrate that the U.S. Attorney's Office, the local prosecutors,
that he got no justice. Correct. I understand.
Right, and then after
he's going through the motions. Then he can appeal it federally and take it all the way. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, he's going.
Oh, by the way, Spud said you were talking about something about going somewhere in public and videotaping yourself, and that you use a video camera you take with you or whatever. And he wants to know, can he order those tapes of you going out on special assignments?
Yes, yes you can. As a matter of, yes you can. But yes you can. I should make these special the special undercover Lydia. But when I went to the U.S. Attorney's Office, I know we're going to wrap it up in 3 minutes. I took a friend with me.
The new Shake and Wake calendar is going to feature Lydia Radin dressed up like Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Caller, this is what you're going to do, caller. You're going to take a friend who's got the ability to videotape at the very least with their cell phone. And what they're going to try to do is say, you can't tape in a federal building. But, you're going to try to do it a little, undercover, not be so obvious. Bring your cell phone, have it running, so you catch the audio. I had my friend hold the cell phone camera up. It was basically, obviously he was videotaping this. We got great shots. Yes, you can order them. They will be my special DVDs. I'll donate it all to Shake and Wake Radio to keep it going. Spud, give Shake and Wake Radio $5 and I'll send you your own. I could probably send it to you on Skype. I'll Skype you the videotapes.
He's not here right now. He had to ride his bike to the liquor store to get some more beer.
Well, he can spend money on beer. He can spend money on Shake and Wake Radio. Tell me you want $5. So what you're going to do is, no, seriously, drink one less beer. Give it to Rick and Annie. Caller, what you do is you bring your friends with their video camera and just start videotaping. Don't make it too obvious. If they try to stop you with this ridiculous rule, because the FBI in Newark tried to stop me, they're like, Miss Radin, you just can't go videotaping in federal buildings. We have rules against that. I'm like, you people almost murdered me. Don't talk to me about your rules. I will say and do whatever I have to say and do to protect my life. And you say the same thing, caller. You say, of course they don't want you videotaping in federal buildings because you're going to catch them committing crimes. If you're a bunch of hoodlums, you'd make up a bunch of rules so that you could victimize people. You say, no, I don't think so. I've already been victimized enough. Don't you touch me or my video camera. And make sure if you have to, fight to the death for that camera. We were going to fight our way out of the building if we had to. They didn't dare touch me because I had spinal injuries. That's why you're going into enemy territory, caller. Make sure you bring your